Sports Center.
I'm Christine Lisi. The Cowboys' disappointing performance in the regular season finale isn't leading to any drastic changes for the team's NFC wildcard game against the Buccaneers on Monday Night Football. This according to Coach Mike McCarthy. He said their approach will stay the same. He called the Commanders' loss something they'll learn from and move forward with. Part of that should involve McCarthy and offensive coordinator Kellen Moore helping quarterback Dak Prescott return to form. Advises our Harry Douglas.
Dak Prescott hasn't played his best football. He has turnovers after turnovers, and I think it's something he's going to be thinking about going into this playoffs. It's your job as a head coach. It's your job as a play caller to get through to Dak, to try to minimize some things so he doesn't have those turnovers that he is having. But at the end of the day, Dak Prescott has to be better in his decision-making. He has to be better in his reads.
Fitz and Harry co-host Harry Douglas. Ravens QB Lamar Jackson missed his 17th straight practice today due to a sprained knee. Tyler Huntley, who will start if Jackson's out of Sunday night's AFC wildcard game against the Bengals, did resume throwing today. Former Saints coach Sean Payton will interview for the Broncos head coaching vacancy on Tuesday.
We all know the game isn't over till it's over. So next time you need parts for your car, don't call it quits. Go to eBay Motors. They have 122 million parts to take your car into overtime. Get the right parts at the right prices. ebaymotors.com. Let's ride.
Matt Moscona.
I'm very important.
After further review.
Say it one more time.
After further review with Matt Moscona.
And here we go.
ESPN Baton Rouge, New Orleans, Alexandria. Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studios.
Let's ride.
And off we go. Welcome aboard. Glad you're with us, AFR. I'm Matt.
This is Shaq O'Neal, and I hate Matt.
Paul O'Neal.
They're chanting Paul O'Neal's name.
You so. And Mr. Toby Tomplay. All right, we're here. Glad you are as well. Get out there and make it a good one. Derek Carr to the Saints. We'll head to Vegas in about 15 minutes. Paul Nolan next hour. Mike Triplett talking all things Houdat, putting a button on the season in hour number 3. Glad to have you aboard with us here. We'll begin, though, with some LSU news. Yesterday, the Walker Howard news broke in the middle of the show. And so really the second half of the show yesterday was all of the Walker Howard stuff as it was unfolding. So by now, everyone knows Walker Howard is in the transfer portal. Went through a ton of my immediate reaction to it. I'm not sure my reaction has changed much in the 23 hours since. We had about an hour and a half to talk about it, then left here and went and did the show with T-Bob, Scone and T, and we talked about it for another hour. And, I think just for the benefit of those that might have missed it yesterday, what I'll say is it's always going to cause a bigger reaction when a quarterback enters the transfer portal. And with Walker Howard, there's a lot of emotional strings attached, a lot of emotional sort of connective tissue because of the last name. His dad played here. He's a legacy. He's one of the highest touted and recruited quarterbacks in this state in a few decades. And you can understand why. There were a lot of people very optimistic about what a future with Walker Howard would look like. But I also understand, as we've explained before, Walker was willing to come and sit for a year and grow and learn and grow physically and emotionally and develop more maturity and learn the offense and wait his turn, but wanted to be able to compete for the job in year 2. And with both Jaden and Garrett returning, he leaves. So he wasn't going to have that opportunity. You could look ahead if you're Walker Howard. You could say, well, if I come back and Garrett's the guy next year, well, then I'm waiting 3 years, possibly 4 years for the opportunity to play. And elite players at that position don't do it. So you understand why. But if you remove the nameplate from the back and you say LSU's third-string quarterback left, and you're returning a guy that won 10 games, won the SEC West, you beat Alabama, was your leading rusher, threw for 2,900 yards, kind of for 27 touchdowns and 3 interceptions, and the backup, who everyone is very excited about as well, you feel really good about 2023 under center. And then you worry about 2024 when you get there. And that's likely Garrett Nussmeier and Ricky Collins and Colin Hurley, who's a potential 5-star when all the final ratings come out after next year, who a lot of people are excited about. So, and if you need to hit the portal for a quarterback, you do it, just like you did with Mettenberger, and just like you did with Danny Etling, and just like you did with Joe Burrow, and just like you did with Jaden Daniels. So LSU is going to be fine, but certainly it stings. I know there's a lot of people who think it's a total certainty that that he's going to TCU. I'm here to tell you, I've not everything I've heard is conflicting that it's done. I do not believe that's a done deal. I certainly think TCU is on the very, very short list, and I would not be surprised at all if Walker ends up at TCU. But I'm telling you, Florida and Auburn are certainly interested, and I wouldn't be surprised if Walker quickly made some visits. I did hear Alabama thrown in there yesterday as well, just because it's Nick, and if Nick wants to pick up the phone and make a call, I think anybody listens. It's not to say that it's gonna happen, but the other thing I was told last night is, hey, look, if a bunch of schools had interest within the hours after Walker entered the portal, give it another 24 hours. How many more schools are interested? What other opportunities are out there? So there's two parts of it, which is, of course, what LSU does at quarterback moving forward, and they're fine in 2023 with Daniels, Nussmeier there leading the way, Ricky Collins coming in. We'll see if they add depth in the portal. And they'll be fine moving forward because they have now a year to recruit that position and then potentially look at the portal if they need it. The other part of the question is what happens to Walker? Where does he go? And does he transfer within the SEC? He's got a relationship with Billy Napier at Florida. Auburn has been very aggressive in the portal for a lot of very obvious reasons, and they have a need for a quarterback there. Or does he go play with his best friend Jack Besh at TCU, which is certainly a possibility as well. I think that's your short list right now, and as it develops, we'll keep you up to date. It's after further review. We're glad to have you aboard with us here. Tigers did lose a player into the portal. I'll get to that here in a second. Let me remind you about the Williamson Eye Center. Love telling you about Dr. Blake Williamson and the Williamson Eye Center. 924-2020, 924-2020. If you want to see 2020, call 924-2020 for the Williamson Eye Center. You don't have to be an elite athlete. Look, guys like Devin White and Caleb on Chasson and, Warren Morris, Paul Maneri have all had their eyes done at the Williamson Eye Center. But so have I, and so did Jimmy Ott, so did my dad. And the bottom line is, and if you want to see and not have to reach for those glasses, not have to shove contacts in your eyes, there's a way to do it. The Williamson Eye Center can help. Call Dr. Blake Williamson. Just set up that consultation. 924-2020. 924-2020 or williamsoneye.com. So a day after Walker Howard jumped into the transfer portal, LSU outside linebacker, edge, Xavier Carter jumped in the portal as well. Carter appeared in 11 games for LSU this season, played in 7 games a year ago as a freshman. He was a 4-star out of the state of Georgia when he signed with LSU. So for his career, 18 games played, 9 tackles. Incidentally, the most action he's gotten is in the bowl games the last 2 years. Of course, there was a great need a year ago in the Texas Bowl against Kansas State, and then this year with a lot of your defensive ends and defensive linemen opting out, there was a need there as well. So Xavier Carter played a good bit in the Citrus Bowl this past a couple of weeks ago. So Xavier Carter, 6'4", 205. He's a guy that at that jack linebacker position, you have a great need, and he was a guy that was certainly going to be in the mix. But you look at what LSU did in the portal, going and getting Braden Swinson from Oregon, a 6'4", 233-pounder, originally from Georgia, went to Oregon, has played for 3 years. He's going to be very likely your day one starter. So if you're Xavier Carter, you can look around and say, well, how many reps were going to be there? I will say, though, that before they went and got Swinson out of the portal, this would have been a much bigger blow. Because keep in mind, you've already, B.J. Ojulari went pro, and Desmond Little was another guy they liked at that jack linebacker position, and he entered the portal. So when you look at LSU and that jack linebacker position, right now you're looking at Braden Swinson, the edge from Oregon who transferred in, and then Deshaun Womack, who's a 5-star, who's coming in as a freshman. And Harold Perkins played that jack linebacker position this year, and he was incredible. So, I think there's a lot of reason to believe that another 5-star coming in, if the coaching staff likes him in that role, it makes a lot of sense why you plug and play and let that guy go rush the passer. I also think there's the possibility that Matt House could just get really creative. And we saw that at times this year. You got Quincy Wiggins, you got Savion Jones. We mentioned you got Braden Swinson, and then you've got, a five-star in Womack coming in as well. So you've got some numbers there to play with. And Matt House, if nothing else, showed this year he can get creative whenever he has to at that defensive front. We saw at times, without Mason Smith, we saw Mekhi Wingo play left edge. We saw Ali Gay kick inside. Whatever he needs to give odd looks and get guys in positions to make the plays to achieve what he's trying to defensively, he'll have enough bodies to do it, even if it's not your prototypical jack linebacker, what they're looking for. I mean, the best case scenario is Braden Swinson becomes B.J. Ojulari. Now, that's easier said than done. Now, Ojulari played in 11 games this year. Had some injuries. They did opt out of the bowl game, and they held him out of a couple of games while he dealt with injuries. But in 11 games, 58 tackles, 8.5 for loss, 5.5 sacks. Now, Harold Perkins didn't even really emerge at that jack position until a few weeks into the season and really popped off against Ole Miss and then carried it forward from there. But Harold Perkins led your team in tackles, double-digit tackles for loss, and led your team in sacks. So if you absolutely have to have Harold Perkins play the jack linebacker spot, you can certainly do it. And maybe it's just in certain downs or situations where you need him in the game at that position. But most likely, Harold Perkins is kicking inside this year, and he's going to play alongside Greg Penn as an inside linebacker, because that's what he is. It's what he's going to be at the next level. As good as he is on the edge rushing the passer, and he's elite at that, he's Devin White. I mean, he's going to be the inside backer that makes 120 tackles, runs sideline to sideline. You bring him on delayed blitzes, and you let someone else who's more that prototype get on the edge and play that jack position, and that's why you bring in Braden Swinson. But my point is, if you absolutely have to do it, you have enough pieces on the chessboard. Matt House is a smart enough defensive coordinator, obviously, doesn't need my help, to be able to maneuver those pieces and make it work. So with this hurts his depth. You're losing a guy like Xavier Carter who's entering year 3, and it probably means Matt House has to get a little more creative. Or what you could see is LSU go into the portal and get another edge player. Or, with the February signing date for high school, maybe target another edge player if there's someone who's that prototype. I don't want to be dismissive and not mention Dylan Carpenter. But Dylan Carpenter is a guy who from Santa Ma who also can play that jack linebacker position, 6'4", 234, be a true freshman coming in. So we'll see about that. Could Jackson Howard, who's also coming in from Minnesota, could Jackson Howard play that edge? Do you really want to count on a true freshman? I mean, you did it this year with good success in pass rush situations, so we'll see. But the bottom line is they've attacked that portal so hard on the defensive line out of necessity. They've got enough pieces on the chessboard. Now you say, all right, Matt House, take the spring, take the fall to go figure out who's going to fit best where and make it fly whenever you head down to Orlando to take on Florida State on that Labor Day weekend. So Xavier Carter enters the transfer portal. When you look at LSU in the portal so far, Xavier Carter, Derek Davis in the portal, Demario Tolan, Antoine Sampa, Cole Taylor, Marcus Dumerville, Xavier Hill, Cam Wire, Jack Besh, of course. Were there any others that I'm trying? Radarius Jones, of course. Demarius McGee also entered the portal. So Desmond Little, who we talked about a bit as well ago. So it's been an active portal year for LSU, comings and goings, but not quite as significant as a season ago. And Xavier Carter there is the latest. All right, it's after further review. Let me knock out our first break of the show, y'all. We'll come back. I want to head out to the desert. We're going to talk to our buddy Adam Hill, who joined us earlier this year when the Saints played the Raiders. But now I want to talk about Derek Carr, who today formally bade farewell to the Raiders organization. Where he lands next will be a giant question this offseason, and quarterback-needy teams are picking up the phone. Are the Saints one of them? We'll talk about it next on AFR.
AFR.
All right, y'all. It is carnival time, and there is no better time than carnival time to get by Rouse's to go pick up your king cake. Rouse's locations all over the place. You know where they are. If you're near us here with the Burbank and Lee location in Baton Rouge, or just anywhere that you can find a Rouse's, you can get to the locations at the website, rouses.com, but you know where Rouse's is. The one by my house is the one over there in Long Farm, so Airline by Antioch. But look, there's Rouse's locations everywhere. They got the best king cakes because they're NOLA born and bred. Go get that New Orleans king cake at Rouse's, or ship that king cake anywhere in the country, y'all. It's easy. Go to the website at rouses.com. Maybe you have a client, a family member that lives out of state, you want to bring a little taste of Carnival to them here this Carnival season, Rouse's helps you do it. Go to the website, rouses.com. That's rouses.com. Rouse's will ship king cakes anywhere in the country. So just go to rouses.com, pick out your king cake, traditional, filled. They even have the black and gold king cake as well. It's at Rouse's.
Hi, I'm Brandon Landry, founder and CEO of Walker.
Hi, my name is Dr. Craig Green.
This is Ryan Terrio with HUDCORoofing.com.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. No matter how big your commercial roofing job, HUDCO can help.
My patients come to me because they trust that I can get the job done at a high level. Ryan Terrio and Richard Tilley have the same level of trust when it comes to roofing.
If you have a roofing issue, call HUDCO Roofing.
Give us a call, 364-1007, and we'll come to your house and give you a free inspection.
At Ochsner, we know healing is a team sport. That's why we've partnered with world-renowned orthopedic surgeon Dr. James Andrews to create the Ochsner Andrews Orthopedics and Sports Medicine Institute. Whether you're a professional athlete or a weekend warrior, our team of specialists are dedicated to getting you back in the game. So whatever your reasons are for reaching your personal best, we've only got one: you. Ochsner Andrews Institute. Long live you.
Have you ever heard the tale of the misunderstood bull? A menacing beast that was born to float. A force of nature. The embodiment of grace. Quite grand, yet quiet and nimble. The Infiniti QX80.
Experience the Infiniti QX80 at your local Infiniti retailer.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram has $10,000 off MSRP on all new 2022 Black Widow Jeep Gladiators in stock. All new Bayou vehicles come with a 1 million.
After further review with Matt Moscona, ESPN Baton Rouge, New Orleans, Alexandria.
All right, rolling along here, and glad to have you aboard with us. Big news out of the NFL today, and not in any way unexpected, but it did sort of, I guess, become official. Derek Carr, via a social media post, did sort of formally announce, I guess, his farewell to the Raiders organization. Team that drafted him back in 2014 in round 2, and he is the Raiders career leader in tons of categories, but Derek Carr is going to finish his career elsewhere. It could very well be in New Orleans. Saints are a quarterback-needy team. So let's find out everything we need to know about this. Adam Hill was good enough to join us earlier this year when the Saints played the Raiders, and good enough to jump aboard with us here. Adam, we appreciate the time, man. How are you?
I'm good. Don't remember much about that trip to New Orleans. The game was kind of boring and good for you guys, I guess, but pretty boring game, but a wild weekend for sure.
One of the very few very good games that the Saints had all year. I know you can empathize. Okay, so let's just start from the beginning. How did the Raiders get to this point with Derek Carr?
You know, it's been a weird situation. The way I always describe Derek Carr is he's too good of a quarterback for you to just move on from, but not good enough for you to win at the highest level. And it's a really terrible spot to be in the NFL. Like you have like the 13th, 14th best quarterback on planet Earth. So there's like 12 better options out there. Can you get one of them? You never know, but I don't think that's good enough to take the next step. So it's been kind of controversial every year. Are they going to move on? Are they going to keep them? How are they going to handle it? And it just seems like, Josh McDaniels and Dave Ziegler came in. They wanted to give him a year. They're coming off a playoff berth last year. They could bring in Devontae Adams, one of his close friends. And, they wanted to give it a year. And that's why they signed him to a contract that was basically a one-year deal. And I think at some point during the season, they just realized they weren't going to be able to do it. And you could tell in their play calling. There was times when they, it called for maybe being more aggressive, and they just didn't do it. And I don't think they trusted him fully and never really fully bought into him as the quarterback. And I don't think he ever fully bought into the system that they were trying to run. And it just wasn't going to work going forward. So I think, for everybody's benefit, it stopped when it did. They kind of knew they were out of the playoff picture and said, hey, let's move on from him. And it was kind of an ugly divorce, I guess, in the end, but one that was probably long overdue.
You mentioned the contract. It was a 3-year, $121 million deal, but you said it amounted essentially to a 1-year deal. Can you explain, in as layman's of terms as you can, how the contract situation works and how the Raiders get out of this?
Yeah, so let me start from the beginning. First of all, when the deal was signed, it was a 1-year deal, and it was reported as a 3-year deal. And I think that was on purpose. I think Derek and his agent wanted to go big and say, hey, we got a 3-year deal. We got all this guaranteed money. We're going to be here for a long time. And I think the team said, yeah, it's a 1-year deal. We're going to be able to get out of this after 1 year if we want it. But it was kind of the best for everyone. But right now, what they're looking at is 3 days after the Super Bowl, his contract for next year becomes fully guaranteed for $40 million. Nobody wants that to happen in Las Vegas. We know that.
Right.
But there is a huge problem. The league year doesn't start until a month later. So if they do come to a trade with somebody, they're going to have to trust that team is going to follow through with that trade a month later, because the contract becomes fully guaranteed and they can't actually make the deal for another month. So another team could say, yeah, sure, we'll trade for him. The contract becomes guaranteed, and then the team backs out and the Raiders are stuck with the deal, which complicates this entire process, which is why I don't think there's going to be a trade. I think he'll be released at some point.
So if there's no trade, and by the way, Derek Carr also has a no trade clause, correct?
Sure. Yeah, he does.
So he would have to agree to go to the team that the Raiders strike a deal with, or are there any teams where that would make sense? Any situation that would make sense?
Well, the issue is people keep saying, like, yeah, he can decide where he wants to go. I would say, sure, but if he gets traded, wouldn't he have to accept it? Because he's not going to get $40 million on the open market. In my mind, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm completely misreading the market, but I don't think he's getting $40 million. So wouldn't you want to take any trade so they have to pick up that contract? I would think so.
It's something we talk about often here, Adam. You're not just trading for a player, you're also trading for their contract. So if someone does trade for Derek Carr, they're essentially taking on a deal that in 2023 carries $32.9 million of cash and a $34 million cap hit. I mean, and the dead number for the Raiders next year is $5 million. So I think if I'm hearing you, it sounds your intuition here is that the Raiders are ultimately just going to cut Derek Carr and eat a $5 million cap hit next year.
Yeah, and it gets to 40 because if the contract gets guaranteed 3 days after the Super Bowl, it also kicks in an additional $8 million of guarantees for 2024.
Wow.
So essentially, it's a $40 million guarantee that you would have to agree to if you're going to trade for him.
And Adam Hill's with us, Las Vegas Review-Journal. Is there a situation that makes sense for Derek Carr?
I mean, yeah, I think so. Again, I'll go back to. I'm not meaning this to trash it because I think it's a very impressive thing to be, the 12th to 15th, 16th best quarterback, whatever you want to say, for sure. But I do think it has to be the right spot. I think there's a couple of things. One, Derek is and again, I don't want this to come off wrong. He is a very sensitive person. And I don't think like a New York market makes sense. I hear people talking about the Jets. I don't know that makes sense for him in terms of dealing with the media on a daily basis there. He also has really, really struggled in cold weather and wind. So I think that would be, probably not the best move. A place like New Orleans, good defense. He's never had a great defense in his career. I think playing with a good defense could be helpful. I think playing indoors could potentially be helpful, like it is here, because he doesn't have to go outside and play outdoors a lot. So I think favorable conditions weather-wise and favorable conditions media-wise are probably the best option.
So Jets, Saints, the list. Colts, okay. Any other, what are the other teams that, you've been through this, I'm sure, the whole list. What other teams might make sense?
I mean, the Colts and Jets were at the top of my list at the beginning. I just don't think the Jets would work out. So the Colts have always kind of been one that I thought, yeah, that's possible. Okay. It also depends what happens with some of the coaching moves and things that happen here, and who really believes in them and who thinks they can do something with them. So I think that there are going to be more options open, and we don't know. There's going to be a lot of movement in the quarterback market too. Yeah. So who ends up with the shuffle? I think he is a starting quarterback in the league, and I think the conditions have to be fairly favorable for him to have success.
Do you anticipate there being a market for Carr in the sense of you said obviously nobody's going to pay Derek Carr $40 million next year, but is it something where the Saints just did a 1-year deal with Andy Dalton? Prior to that, they did a 1-year deal with Jameis Winston. They're in a very similar situation to the Colts with this sort of retread purgatory. Is Derek Carr a guy that you think will just take a 1-year flyer somewhere, or is someone likely to commit more to him?
Well, I don't think he's going into this process believing he's a 1-year deal guy.
Okay.
That can change, right? I mean, from what I understand, the original discussions that the team has had have not been very fruitful, but that, of course, involves the $40 million. So I think, that market is probably fairly cool. So then he can go and be a free agent and decide where he wants to go. And I'm sure that there's going to be teams that maybe start to panic if he waits in the process and, somebody really needs a quarterback and thinks they're a quarterback away. That could maybe set the market a little bit for him. But I think that there's going to be interest, but I don't think there's going to be, people that are willing to blow him away with some massive deal like he probably thinks will.
Okay. An on-field question. How much more – he'll be 32 in March. How much more does Derek Carr have left in the tank?
It's an interesting question. So he did have a major injury back in 2016, and it kind of changed him a little bit in terms of doesn't really like to run much, doesn't like to take big hits, kind of fades away in the pocket a little bit to avoid contact at times. So I think he's protected his body fairly well the last few years. Now, that may have been at the detriment of his play a little bit, but I think he's done a pretty good job with it. And he's definitely, very dedicated to conditioning and off-field work and all that stuff. He's definitely a guy that's going to work hard. So I think he's got quite a bit left in his tank. I think that's something that he can play at a pretty high level for the next couple of years, and I don't think people should be too worried about that part of it.
Adam, if I asked you to guess today, and again, just to guess, what do you think happens here with Derek Carr? How does the situation play out?
I think he's released, and I think that he can explore whatever he wants to explore out there. And again, I think there's connections, with certain different coaches and people around the league, and I think some people have certain feelings about how a lot of this is played out. I know there's some disagreement over why he left. Did he leave? Did the team ask him to leave? How did that all kind of play out? So I think teams have different opinions on him as a person, as a player. So I don't think every team's going to be interested, but I think the ones that are interested are going to look at him in the positives. Great leader in the community, a guy that's very spiritual, who does a lot of work with the churches and the community, and just a good guy who's going to be a good player for you. And I think those kind of guys are, tough to find sometimes. And, I think people are going to be interested in that. But I don't think it's going to be a lot of teams. I think there's going to be a few teams that are really focused in on him, and we'll see what kind of deal he gets from that.
He's Adam Hill, Las Vegas Review-Journal, on Twitter at Adam Hill LVRJ. I'll give him a follow there. Derek Carr, potential in New Orleans. Man, we're going to keep an eye on it. Adam, we appreciate the time, man. Thank you.
Sounds good.
All right, man. Be well. It is After Further Review. We're glad you're with us. We're brought to you by Hudco Roofing, HudcoRoofing.com. Commercial, residential, roof repairs, roof replacements. Of course, if you have wind, hail damage at your home, tell you all the time, or if you're not sure, there's only two ways to find out. Let us come do a free, no-obligation roofing inspection, or Wait till it rains, you get water in your house. I mean, it's like clockwork. Every time it rains, phones ring at HUDCO. It's just the nature of it. But we love to come help you out. We're a Louisiana company run by Louisiana people with offices in Louisiana. We use Louisiana products. CertainTeed shingles are manufactured in Shreveport, so supporting Louisiana jobs and the Louisiana economy. We are Louisiana through and through. It's HUDCO Roofing. We're here before the storm. We'll be here after, always. HUDCO Roofing, HUDCOroofing.com. And remember, if you are maybe you're a property manager, maybe you're a commercial contractor, we would love the opportunity to bid on any and all commercial jobs. And we have a maintenance program where we can service you day in, day out, nights, weekends, whenever you need. If you have an issue with your roof, our crews are ready to roll. So if you're in Baton Rouge or Bossier, New Orleans or Lafayette, go to the website, HUDCOroofing.com. You see the phone number at the top for our offices in Bossier, Baton Rouge, New Orleans, and Lafayette. Find the office nearest you. Give us a shout. We'd love to help you out. HUDCO Roofing, HUDCOroofing.com. Do business with someone you know. HUDCO Roofing and HUDCOroofing.com. Okay, we are going to go around the SEC in the next segment. What do you think about the Derek Carr situation? Is that something you'd like the Saints to explore? Maybe that can be our Citizens Bank and Trust poll question of the day, Muse, if you want to put it up there on the Twitter account. Would you like the Saints to sign Derek Carr? And obviously the qualifier is at what cost, right? I mean, what would it cost? Do you have to commit 5 years to Derek Carr? I'll tell you the one thing that gives me pause is he does remind me a lot of Andy Dalton when he left Cincinnati. And Andy Dalton was a guy who was a starter there, who had success there, who got him to the playoffs, never won at the biggest level, but he left Cincinnati, he went to Dallas, and he was, they punted after a year. He went to Chicago, they punted after a year. Now he's in New Orleans. So he's basically at that point in his career when Dalton left Cincinnati, and it hasn't gone well for him since. And I really wonder at 32, is Derek Carr still an elite quarterback? Or can he still be an elite quarterback? Is it a situation like when Matthew Stafford left Detroit, went to L.A., he was the final piece in the right situation, and boom, they win a Super Bowl? Does Derek Carr have that situation ahead of him? I don't know the answer to that, but it's something that some GM is going to have to decide based on whether or not they're willing to commit resources to Derek Carr, and what that market will look like is going to be a fascinating talking point this offseason. Okay, it's after further review. Quick break. We'll go around the SEC next.
AFR.
Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram has $10,000 off MSRP on all new 2022 Black Widow Jeep Gladiators in stock. All new Bayou vehicles come with a 1 million mile powertrain warranty and free delivery. If you need sales or service, the crew at Bayou is going to do right by you.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
This is a house call. This is a follow-up appointment. This is a diabetes checkup. This isn't just more convenient care, it's more advanced care. This is innovating healthcare at Louisiana's #1 hospital, Ochsner.
Louisiana. It's a place defined by culture, by pride, by passion, by people who do more than love this place. They celebrate it, elevate it, champion it. They are the individuals who embody what makes Louisiana great. The companies that make Louisiana a better place to work and live. The nonprofits leading transformational change in our communities. champions of Louisiana are all around us, and LWCC is proud to celebrate them because we've always been Louisiana loyal, supporting the workers, the innovators, the change agents of this great place we call home. Who are the champions around you? Together, we can share their stories. Together, we can help our home state thrive. Together, we are Louisiana loyal. Always.
ServiceMaster Elite create clean, disinfected work environments. As a local business, we take pride in serving the New Orleans and Baton Rouge areas. Our cleaning protocols follow CDC and OSHA standards for healthcare settings, offices, senior living, restaurants, and industrial plants. Contact ServiceMaster Elite to get your operation ready for reopening with germ disinfection cleaning. ServiceMaster Elite, the trusted choice in professional cleaning since 1996.
Eli's always been into grilling. It took us a while to see it, but the signs were there.
What are you doing, Eli?
I knew grilling was my thing. I have been talking about it throughout my career.
Happy with the results?
I am. Got the new grill from barbecueguys.com. It performed great.
My advice, as I always told my boys,
do more of what you're born to do.
Barbecue Guys, for those who were born to grill.
You want cheese on your burger, Pops?
I'll take a little cheese.
Corval Toyota in Appaloosa is here to help.
After further review with Matt Moscona, ESPN Baton Rouge, New Orleans, Alexandria.
There's big news out of the Big Ten today. Commissioner Kevin Warren has been hired as the new president and CEO of the Chicago Bears. So, boy, after having a long-standing commissioner, Jim Delaney, retire, replacing him with Kevin Warren in 2019, just a few short years later, the Big Ten is back in the market for a new commissioner. Brandon Marcello from CBS Sports talked about what candidates potentially could be out there to replace Kevin Warren.
I think number one on that list has to be ACC Commissioner Jim Phillips. Rarely do we see Power 5 commissioners switching jobs, but Jim Phillips, remember, 4 years ago, finishes the runner-up for this gig behind Kevin Warren. And Jim Phillips has a lot of connections in the Big Ten, previously having worked there, of course. And the Big Ten right now needs a commissioner to come in and be able to heal some wounds that are still open a little bit. Kevin Warren, as great as he was as a businessman, was not very personable with the athletic directors and the presidents there. A lot of hurt feelings among that group. He didn't really go around to campuses making everybody feel like they were being treated the same. I think Jim Phillips is very much a guy that could, one, understand the Big Ten, but also was a healer.
The other thing to keep in mind about Warren, remember, he was a newly hired commissioner when the COVID shutdown happened, and there was great dissension among the Big Ten ranks, if you remember, led by, Justin Fields and the players sort of had a mutiny where they made the push to play after, Kevin Warren and the Big, made the decision to shut the season down, only to have other programs in the league, namely Nebraska and their AD Trev Alberts, openly blast Kevin Warren and disagree with him and try to organize a season without the Big Ten. I mean, it was a public mess. So a lot of that is true. Now, the flip side of it is the guy did negotiate a $7 billion television deal, media rights deal, and he did successfully pursue USC and UCLA, adding them to the Big Ten, making this a bi-coastal conference now. So the business side of the Big Ten from Kevin Warren was obviously successful, but there was others there, other things there left to be desired. One more from Brandon Marcello, who did talk about what the new commissioner, whomever that may be, the hurdles that person is going to face.
I think that they needed the commissioner to come in and say, hey, I'm listening to you, ADs and presidents, and I represent you. I don't represent my own interests. There's a lot of ADs and presidents who were not very happy with the way Kevin Warren was handling things after they added USC and UCLA by going out and saying, hey, we might expand further. We might potentially be looking at other programs. because the Big Ten presidents did not want to expand further beyond those 2 additions. So they're always kind of sitting in their chairs back in their offices wondering, what's Kevin Warren up to today? And what's he maybe being more evasive about when we try to talk to him and ask him some certain things about the future of the conference and also just their current dealings. Kevin Warren was very vague whenever they had meetings over the phone or in person, and that didn't set very well. They need someone to come in there that's a little bit more transparent and obviously understands that landscape.
Big Ten looking for a new commissioner. It's a transformative time in college football. As we all know, transfer portal, NIL, expansion in the Big Ten, college football playoff expansion. They kind of have to nail this, especially with the SEC expanding and the new media rights deal coming. So, yes, they kind of have to nail this with commissioner, and we'll see what direction it goes. Keep you posted. All right, it's After Further Review. We're brought to you by DraftKings, official sports betting partner of the NFL. Y'all, NFL playoffs this weekend. I'm jacked about it, man. Wild card weekend is here. Excited about the NFL playoffs. If you want to be betting on the playoffs, the best place to do it is on the DraftKings Sportsbook app. Maybe you're a new customer. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app. Bet just $5 on the NFL playoffs. Again, win or lose, bet just $5 on the NFL playoffs. They'll give you $200 in free bets. That's at the DraftKings Sportsbook. For new customers, download the app. Use the promo code Baton Rouge. Download the app. Use the promo code Baton Rouge. By the way, we give you Otter locks here every night. If you were keeping score last night, the Otter was 5-0 in college basketball last night. How about Shaboy, 5-0? Where should you bet on all of those Otter locks? Of course, at the DraftKings Sportsbook. So download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use the promo code Baton Rouge. 21 and older, physically present in Louisiana. Select parishes only. Bonus issued as free bets. One free bet issued based on amount of initial losing NFL bet up to $10. Eligibility, wagering, and deposit restrictions apply. Terms at sportsbook.draftkings.com/football terms. Licensing partner Gold Nugget Lake Charles. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. 1-800-426-2537. All right, do it every day about this time. Let's go around the SEC.
Around the SEC, presented by Gulf Coast Office Products, excellence in imaging solutions. The Mississippi State Bulldogs.
Mississippi State set to hire Kevin Barbay as the new offensive coordinator and quarterbacks coach. Barbay spent last season at Appalachian State after 3 years at Central Michigan. He's only 40 years old. He does have SEC experience. He worked as Florida's player development director under Jim McElwain. Barbay played quarterback at Grambling and then later transferred to Lamar. He will be the new Mississippi State offensive coordinator.
The Auburn Tigers.
Justin Rogers, big defensive tackle from Kentucky who entered the transfer portal. He has announced he's headed to Auburn. He's the 4th transfer defensive lineman at Auburn and the 31st new player expected to join Hugh Freeze's roster. 6'3", 332-pounder. He was the number 52 overall player in the country when he signed with Kentucky. Rogers had visits scheduled to LSU and Alabama this weekend, but never made it there after his Auburn trip. Wonder why. Oh, Yellowwood. Oh, Yellowwood.
The Georgia Bulldogs.
Slanging that cash, Yellowwood. You ain't leaving campus, bruh. How much you need? Here's the blank check. Defensive back James Singletary has entered the transfer portal. He was the number 27 overall player in the country in the 247 composite this past year, paging Brian Kelly. Played just 2 games this season and redshirted. Of course, Georgia's replacing Keely Ringo, but they do bring back Kamari Lassiter. Georgia now has seen 4 players jump into the portal.
The Florida Gators.
And the Gators' season opener against Utah may actually move up. They're scheduled for Labor Day weekend on Saturday, but now it is officially designated on their schedule as between August 31st and September 2nd in Salt Lake City. Travel issues across country may be one thing that is leading to the game's schedule, but also the game scheduling could be influenced by the Pac-12 network. So Florida and Utah could have a Thursday or Friday start on Labor Day weekend. All right, there you have it. That is Around the SEC, presented by Gulf Coast Office Products. Shout out to our guy Trey Beal and our friends at Gulf Coast Office Products. They're online at gcopnet.com. gcopnet.com for Gulf Coast Office Products. Face-to-face sales, service after the sale. That's what you always get. A national leader among Savin dealers. They're right here in Louisiana. They are the leader in our state as far as office equipment. It's Gulf Coast Office Products. gcopnet.com for Gulf Coast Office Products. Sean Payton is going to interview with the Denver Broncos on Tuesday. So that is now official. His formal in-person interview will happen on Tuesday with the Denver Broncos. Also, 2 other teams, the Cardinals and Texans, have been granted permission to interview Sean Payton as well. Going to get to that in about 30 minutes from right now. So if you got to leave, come back here in about half an hour, and we'll delve deep into the Sean Payton conversation as he looks like three formal potential landing spots are now out there. Okay, it's after further review. We'll knock out our final break here of hour number 1. When we come back, 6 LSU freshman baseball players have been honored, and one of them in particular, Jay Johnson, raved about on our Rosters to Riches podcast. I want to highlight him next. It's AFR.
AFR.
Moon Griffon is back. The voice of Louisiana politics makes his return to Baton Rouge. Catch the Moon Griffon Show weekdays from 9 to 11 a.m. on Talk 107.3.
Time doesn't stop, and the world keeps spinning. Community, culture, and communications, the powerful circle that connects us together. We're creating the next evolution, a network built for every possibility, moving faster than ever before, streaming us forward into the future. And the revolution is closer than you think. RTC, ETEL, and Vision are now Rev. New name, same company.
Before we begin any electrical work here, we perform a home safety check that begins at your electrical panel to make sure that you and your family are safe. For all your upgrades, installations, and repairs, call Mr. Electric.
I'm Chris Nakamoto, and here's what I'm working on for my stories on WBRZ Channel 2 tonight. 2 state troopers indicted for the death of Ronald Green suspended without pay today by the Louisiana State Police Commission. But there's a catch. Both of them will continue getting paid. That's because they're using their accrued paid time off. It came as a slap in the face to the Green family, who flew in from Florida pleading with the commissioners to do the right thing. I'm Chris Nakamoto from WBRZ. Watch more tonight on WBRZ Channel 2.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime during this challenging event. And we're right there with you. Our mobile banking app is a smart way to manage your money and time. Gulf Coast Bank and Trust, the bank that cares about you.
Start your day with news and newsmakers. Start your day with traffic, weather, and local stories that are important to you. Kickstart your day every day. Mornings with Brian Haldane from 6 to 9 a.m. Weekdays on Talk 107.3.
There it is, the extra mile. On the border of expected and extraordinary. For those willing to go further. Like vans customized for work or play. With safety and tech to keep you connected. Supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team. And backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
At Auctioner, we know healing is a team sport. That's why we've partnered with world-renowned orthopedic surgeon Dr. James Andrews to create the Auctioner Andrews Orthopedics and Sports Medicine Institute. Whether you're a professional athlete or a weekend warrior, our team of specialists are dedicated to getting you back in the game. So whatever your reasons are for reaching your personal best, we've only got one. You. Auctioner Andrews Institute. Long live you.
You ever heard the tale of the misunderstood bull? A menacing beast that was born to float. A force of nature. The embodiment of grace. Quite grand, yet quiet and nimble. The infinity.
After further review with Matt Moscona, ESPN Baton Rouge, New Orleans, Alexandria.
Wrapping up hour number 1. We're glad to have you aboard with us here. Paul Nolan, in about 40 minutes from right now, we'll get Paul's bet. By the way, Paul nailed his prop bets he gave us on air last week. I know, man, our guys Otter, Paul Nolan had a great week, man. Love having these guys on the show. I know, of course, sports betting is such a huge part of the whole sports landscape now, and I love it. I enjoy it. And glad to have these guys aboard. So we appreciate Paul for coming aboard with us. Well, we'll get a precursor on the NFL playoff weekend coming up with Paul Nolan as well. Another honor. This is seemingly like every day now as we gear up for the start of college baseball season. You're just getting more and more of these preseason All-America teams, top 25 teams, lists of the top 100 transfers, top 100 this or that. And Perfect Game has put out their top 100 impact freshmen for the 2023 college baseball season, and 3 freshman LSU Tigers have made the list. They are Jaden Newt, the pitcher, Paxton Kling, the outfielder, 2 catchers, Brady Neal and Jared Bear Jones, Gavin Guidry, the infielder, of course, from Barb, and Chase Shores, the right-handed pitcher, also on the list. We had Jay Johnson as a guest on Rosters to Riches, which the episode dropped last week. For those that aren't familiar, I do a weekly podcast with Jonathan Pixley from Matchpoint, and it's an NIL podcast, and we talk to coaches or athletes or people as part of collectives, business owners, media covering NIL. We really run the gamut. It's been very educational to learn all this. But we had Jay Johnson on. We recorded it before Christmas, but the episode dropped last week. And Jay talked a ton of NIL. He talked about recruiting Tommy White, and we also talked a lot of baseball. And he really caught my ear when he mentioned Chase Shores. Give it a listen.
We really like our freshman class. I mean, Paxton Kling, Jared Jones, Brady Neal, Gavin Guidry. Chase Shores, as a pitcher, I mean, has a chance to be a future ace, in this program.
Chase Shores has the potential to be a future ace in the program. And he's one of those top 100 impact freshmen. It's a very good problem that Jay Johnson has right now, with so many arms and so much talent trying to figure out who's going to fit what roles. What a total contrast to a year ago where you were begging anybody to eat up innings. I mean, it's just a stunning about face where Blake Money, you thought was going to be your Friday night guy last year, started strong. He struggled. Mikhail Hilliard ended up developing sort of into that role, but was never a guy who was going to get you deep into games. I mean, what are you last year without your transfers that ate up innings for you? That's not the reality they're facing right now, in large part because of some of the guys they have coming in, namely a guy like Paul Skeens, who in the same episode, Jay Johnson told the story about recruiting Paul Skeens to Baton Rouge.
He went in the portal actually the night we got eliminated in the regional final, and I'm sitting in my hotel room before we were going to bus back at 8-7 loss. Our team did everything they possibly could to win the game. Like, so proud of those guys. And I'm sitting there going, like, the only way I can ever get over the end of a season, because it's usually in the NCAA tournament, is to start moving, and go recruit. And so, like, I literally had it pulled up on my computer, and I sat there, and his name had popped up earlier that day, probably while we were playing. It's like, all right, I got to take my medicine right now. So I called him that night, and, probably 4 or 5 days later, flew out to Colorado Springs and met with him. It was a very unique situation because he actually had maybe already visited a place or two, and then was going to go play for Team USA, and he wasn't going to be able to get to his visits till after Team USA. So really, the whole summer, it was just kind of a series of phone calls. Trey and Dylan were playing on Team USA, so I went to North Carolina one day to watch them and obviously watch Paul. And then after Team USA was over, he still had like 3 or 4 visits he was going to do. And so, I won't name the schools, but he took 6 visits, I believe. 5, you can take 5 official visits and then 1 unofficial visit. Might have even taken 2 unofficial visits. And he came to Baton Rouge, and we were getting close. Like, it was like August 1st, I think, or close to August 1st. Like, man, I hope you say yes, because you got me back here in like 15 days. But we worked hard, and by that time I had Wes and Josh on board, and I think we just presented the path to his development that he was looking for. And
there's more to it, and I would highly go listen to this episode. It was great. But Jay Johnson became aware of Paul Skeens because when he was coaching, and he tells this in the podcast, when he was coaching Arizona, they played Air Force, and he knew the Air Force coach, and he kind of told him, look, that guy isn't going to be here for 3 years because if he gets past his third year, he's obligated to his military career. And the Air Force coach was saying, I can't let that happen to this kid because he's a potential first rounder. And lo and behold, he ends up in Baton Rouge. It's a great chat we had. Your favorite podcast app, just search Rosters to Riches. The most recent episode was with Jay Johnson. You'll really enjoy it. Go check it out. Okay, we'll knock out a quick break. Sports Center coming up. We'll get you caught up on national headlines. Hour 2 of AFR is next.
AFR.
Bayou Ford has $10,000 off MSRP on a new 2022 Ford F-150, plus no payments for 90 days and 2.9% APR for 72 months. All new Bayou vehicles come with a 1 million mile powertrain warranty. If you need sales or service, the crew at Bayou Ford is going to do right by you.
This is a house call. This is a follow-up appointment. This is a diabetes checkup. This isn't just more convenient care, it's more advanced care. This is innovating healthcare at Louisiana's #1 hospital, Ochsner.
Toyota in Opelousas is here to help you ring in the new year with no markups, and you'll never pay over MSRP. And we have new inventory arriving daily. So Happy New Year from our Corvell Toyota family to yours.
Louisiana. It's a place defined by culture, by pride, by passion, by people who do more than love this place. They celebrate it, elevate it, champion it. They are the individuals who embody what makes Louisiana great. The companies that make Louisiana a better place to work and live. The nonprofits leading transformational change in our communities. Champions of Louisiana are all around us, and LWCC is proud to celebrate them because we've always been Louisiana loyal, supporting the workers, the innovators, the change agents of this great place we call home. Who are the champions around you? Together, we can share their stories. Together, we can help our home state thrive. Together, we are Louisiana loyal. Always.
Eli's always been into grilling. It took us a while to see it, but the signs were there.
What are you doing, Eli?
I knew grilling was my thing. I have been talking about it throughout my career.
Happy with the results?
I am. Got the new grill from barbecueguys.com. It performed great.
My advice, as I always told my boys,
do more of what you were born to do.
Barbecue Guys, for those who were born to grill.
You want cheese on your burger, Pops?
I'll take a little cheese.
Time doesn't stop, and the world keeps spinning. Community, culture, and communications, the powerful circle that connects us together. We're creating the next evolution, a network built for every possibility, moving faster than ever before, streaming us forward into the future. And the revolution is closer than you think. RTC, ETEL, and Vision are now Rev. New name, same company.
You ever heard the tale of the misunderstood bull? A menacing beast that was born to float. A force of nature. The embodiment of grace. Quite Infiniti QX80.
Experience the Infiniti QX80 at your local Infiniti retailer.
This is SportsCenter.
I'm Christine Lisi. Cowboys coach Mike McCarthy today addressed reporters as his team continues to prepare for Monday night's NFC wildcard game against the Buccaneers. He said despite their disappointing performance in the regular season finale, their approach stays the same. They love who they are. But there are a couple of things not to love about Dallas right now, says ESPN senior NFL writer Bill Barnwell.
Last week was bad, but the last 3 weeks with Tony Pollard hurt, Tyler Biadasz, their starting center, sidelined by a high ankle sprain, Terrence Steele, their right tackle, out for the year. They have struggled to run the ball, and Dak is turning the ball over. Dak's interception rate this year, twice his career average, 11 interceptions in their last 7 games.
Bill Barnwell on Fitz and Harry. Chargers receiver Mike Williams questionable for Saturday night's AFC wildcard game against the Jaguars with a back injury. Mercedes-Benz Stadium in Atlanta would be the neutral site for an AFC championship game between the Chiefs and Bills. Other potential AFC title game matchups would take place at the home stadium of the higher seed. Bears hired Big Ten Commissioner Kevin Warren as their new president and CEO.
Do you own or rent your home? Sure you do. Fortunately, Geico makes it easy to bundle your home and car insurance. It's a good thing, too, because having a home is hard work. Go to geico.com, get a quote, and see how much you could save. Geico.com. Easy.
Matt Moscona.
I'm very important.
After further review.
Say it one more time.
After further review with Matt Moscona.
And here we go.
ESPN Baton Rouge, New Orleans, Alexandria. Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studios.
That's right.
Hour 2, off we go. Welcome aboard. Glad you're with us, AFR. I'm Matt.
You're a loser, Matt!
Shut up, kid. Paul O'Neill.
They're chanting Paul O'Neill's name.
Muso. And Mr. Toby Tomplay. All right, we're here. Glad you are as well. Get out there and make it a good one. We are going to chat with Mike Triplett next hour, sort of a season recap, off-season preview with the Saints. Paul Nolan in about 30 minutes from right now. And we do know there are 3 teams that have now formally requested and been granted permission to interview Sean Payton. They are the Denver Broncos, and that interview is going to happen on Tuesday. The Houston Texans and the Arizona Cardinals. So I want to get to that and some reaction in about 15 minutes from right now. Earlier today, I was over at Traction. Big shout out to Tevin over at Traction, been trying to get me right. But I was chatting with my buddy Mack, Chuilli, founder, CEO over at Traction, and he shared with me some really exciting news. I was like, dude, come on the show because I think this is really awesome and very relevant sports news for our audience. So Mack joins us now. How are you, dude?
What's up, Sconey? How's it going, man?
Really good. I appreciate you making time. I know you're going to do some coaching or something like that in a little bit, right? Where are you? Are you coaching basketball now? Is that what we're doing? We switched seasons?
Yeah, man. 5th grade MBS Pelicans against 5th grade St. Aloysius tonight.
That's right. The Pelicans. Proud Pelican right here. That's the sound we make, Muse. Where'd you go, Muse? Or were you a St. Thomas More kid?
St. Thomas More.
Yeah, see, I knew it. I could
the
tell.
Eagles.
I could tell.
That, yeah?
I could tell by your hairdo that you were a St. Thomas More kid.
You,
That's what I could tell.
So you like my hair? Thank you.
Pelicans.
Not a pelican noise.
Close enough. Anyway. All right, MC. So every time I go by Traction, especially during baseball season, it's like every freaking person in Baton Rouge is at your facility because baseball in this city has obviously blown up, especially on a youth level. You shared some news with me today about Little League Baseball, which I thought was pretty fascinating. So go ahead.
Yeah, man, we're excited to, start Little League of Baton Rouge here in Baton Rouge this year, man. We're kind of following the lead of Ascension Parish. They started doing it a couple of years ago, and it's been really exciting for those guys, and we've watched their league grow. And, over the years, if you've paid attention to Williamsport and all, you've seen teams from Lake Charles and New Orleans and Lafayette. Baton Rouge, we were the only city that, wasn't represented in those district and state tournaments, and Ascension Parish had got on board. So we had reached out to them to figure out how they did it and what we needed to do, man. So we're actually launching, Little League for our kids that are ages 9 through 12 this year at Traction, man, and we're really, really excited about it.
So 9 to 12 years old. So this is the tournament or the league. You'd have to explain how it's all set up. That when the winners ultimately go to Williamsport, which we see on ESPN every summer, right? So why was this sort of untapped? Because there's so many youth baseball, I guess leagues or tournaments or organizations around here.
Yeah, well, what has happened, you've seen over the years where Little League was a really big thing, and then, tournament baseball has kind of come to the forefront. But like everything else, I feel like it's going back a little bit, and, Little League has always been special, and the coverage starts, if you've watched ESPN over the years, it'll start in late July and go all through August with the regionals and then the, Williamsport championship. And it's a great event. It's a great, competitive environment. And what has happened is that you get an opportunity to represent your city and go play. So the way our league works is, kids sign up and play in the league. And then from the league, all-star teams are selected, and then at each age group. And then obviously you go and you play your district tournament, which would be, for example, Baton Rouge would play Ascension in New Orleans or whatever else. And then the winner moves on to play in the state tournament. And then if you win the state tournament, whoever represents Louisiana now moves on to the regional tournaments, where that's where the coverage with ESPN begins. And then from there, you have to win and move on from there.
That's right. I've always seen, obviously the team from River Ridge won it a few years ago, which was awesome. We've seen Lake Charles go and compete over the so I think it's phenomenal, man. There's gonna be a Baton Rouge Little League, which, when I was growing up, there wasn't a Baton Rouge Little League. So Traction's bringing this on. The question that I know a lot of people are gonna have, Mack, is a lot of kids have teams, right? You all run the Traction Canes organization, and there's other organizations as well. Can you do both? How does that work?
Absolutely. That's one of the things that I think has really sparked the growth of Little League is you can play tournaments on the weekends and practice with your academy teams the same way we do. And we host our league on Monday nights, which is normally an off night for kids that play baseball on Saturday and Sunday in tournaments. So it allows you to go play a game where, you might be mixed with other kids, and it keeps the games competitive. The one thing about, academy and tournament baseball is these teams are made up and they have tryouts and all this stuff. Well, Little League is more of a draft process. So you can have, 10 different kids from different tournament organizations on the same team playing against 10 other kids. And it just makes an exciting league. It kind of brings it back to the original baseball. And then, like I said, you can still go on to practice with your academy teams and play in tournaments on weekend, just like a lot of our Canes kids are going to do.
Yeah. I think that's pretty awesome, man, that there's kids in this area in Baton Rouge, 9 to 12, that are getting an opportunity to play Little League, and maybe you take a shot at going to play in Williamsport in the summer, which, as a kid, what a dream that would be, man. That's pretty awesome. So, all right, so how do people sign up? Give us the details.
Yeah, so registration's open until the end of the month. You can just go to tractionsports.com, click on Little League. That's for our 9 through 12. We have our normal Traction League that runs for 3-year-olds to 8-year-olds. We have, over 100 teams in these leagues, over 1,000 kids that participate in these leagues every year. This is our 9th year of hosting these leagues. And if you've ever been to Traction on a Monday night or a Friday night, man, it is packed. It's a
insane.
Social environment. It's awesome.
It's insane, man. I think half of the freaking city is at Traction on those league nights. Okay, so I'm at the website. All right, tractionsports.com. Here it is. So you hit the Baton Rouge tab and then scroll down and you'll see the Little League tab. Okay. Yep. So, and that's where you can go register. So parents of boys 9 to 12 that want to play Little League baseball does not interfere with your travel team, your tournament ball, but you can play Little League of Baton Rouge over at Traction. That's awesome, man. Anything else we got to let people know?
No, man, we're just really excited about it. We're trying to get the word out and get people to understand that it's not going to conflict with your tournament teams. And look, if you're not on a travel team and you don't have a ton of experience playing baseball, that's the greatness of this league is, it's kind of an old school draft system where you get, there won't be one dominant team over another team. The kids are kind of split up evenly, and it makes for a competitive league, man. And it's a 14-game schedule, so you play on Monday nights for about 12 weeks. And, by the end of that, if you're able to, make an all-star team and move on to play, we're hoping that, we're watching the city of Baton Rouge compete in this World Series sometime in the next 3 or 4 years as we get this off the ground.
That'd be awesome, man. Mack Chuilli over at Traction. If you've got a son 9 to 12 years old, you want to play in Little League Baseball, you can do it now in Baton Rouge. Just go to TractionSports.com, TractionSports.com. All right, MC, I appreciate you, man. Thanks for the time, dude.
Hey, thanks, Coney. Always.
Of course, man. I think that's awesome news, man. Like, and I don't mean to do the whole about, when I was a kid, but I mean, like, I was in Baton Rouge as a kid, and like there was like the Millerville League, and then there was like, you could play, Breck had a league, or maybe YMCA had a league, and there was just not much, man. American Legion, there just weren't a lot of leagues, and I know a lot of it's gone to tournament ball now, but I didn't know how that worked as far as the teams that got to go play in Williamsport, but man, like, you can still do your tournament ball and go represent Baton Rouge in the Little League World Series. So anyway, TractionSports.com. And Mack didn't say this, but I'll say it. He told me like Traction's going to lose money on this, but he just wanted to bring this to Baton Rouge. So I think that's awesome, man. That's really cool. So if you got kids that play baseball, go sign up. TractionSports.com, TractionSports.com. Okay, it's after further review. Let me knock out a quick break. We'll come back. 3 teams have been granted permission to interview Sean Payton. The Broncos, the Cardinals, the Texans. We're going to go through them, talk about it, what makes sense, some of the particulars. It's all coming up right here. It's AFR.
AFR.
Get Gordon. Get it done. Gordon McKernan, Injury Attorneys. If you're in the state of Louisiana, you've been injured in an accident, and it's not your fault, get Gordon and get it done. Go to getgordon.com. It's getgordon.com. And, of course, you can check out all of the Gordon social medias. So you can learn how you could potentially win $2,500 with the Get Gordon Dance Challenge. It's on Twitter or Facebook or Facebook or TikTok or Instagram. It's all there. If you want to see how you can win $2,500 and get all the details, it's at Get Gordon. You know what to do. Get Gordon and get it done. Dance, Get Gordon. Get it done. So you can get all the deets on how you can win the $2,500. But, of course, look, Gordon's all about having fun. He's all about supporting Louisiana and the people of Louisiana and, of course, helping injured people in the state. Get Gordon and get it done.
Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram has $10,000 off MSRP on all new 2022 Black Widow Jeep Gladiators in stock. All new Bayou vehicles come with a 1 million mile powertrain warranty and free delivery. If you need sales or service, the crew at Bayou is going to do right by you.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
At Ochsner, we know healing is a team sport. That's why we've partnered with world-renowned orthopedic surgeon Dr. James Andrews to create the Ochsner Andrews Orthopedics and Sports Medicine Institute. Whether you're a professional athlete or a weekend warrior, our team of specialists are dedicated to getting you back in the game. So whatever your reasons are for reaching your personal best, we've only got one: you. Ochsner Andrews Institute. Long live you.
ServiceMaster Elite create clean, disinfected work environments. As a local business, we take pride in serving the New Orleans and Baton Rouge areas. Our cleaning protocols follow CDC and OSHA standards for healthcare settings, offices, senior living, restaurants, and industrial plants. Contact ServiceMaster Elite to get your operation ready for reopening with germ disinfection cleaning. ServiceMaster Elite, the trusted choice in professional cleaning since 1996.
Louisiana. It's a place defined by culture, by pride, by passion, by people who do more than love this place. They celebrate it, elevate it, champion it. They are the individuals who embody what makes Louisiana great. The companies that make Louisiana a better place to work and live. The nonprofits leading transformational change in our communities. Champions of Louisiana are all around us, and LWCC is proud to celebrate them because we've always been Louisiana loyal, supporting the workers, the innovators, the change agents of this great place we call home. Who are the champions around you? Together, we can share their stories. Together, we can help our home state thrive. Together, we are Louisiana loyal. Always.
After further review with Matt Moscona, ESPN Baton Rouge, New Orleans, Alexandria.
Join former LSU Tigers Aaron and Austin Nola for the 2023 Strikeout ALS Bowling event. The Nola brothers are teaming up once again to help raise critical funds and awareness for the fight against ALS. The 2023 Strikeout ALS will be held at Red Stick Social Thursday, January the 19th from 5 p.m. to 10 p.m. Tickets can be purchased at als.org/strikeoutals.
Nick Underhill reported that all 5 teams with head coaching openings have reached out to Sean Payton. We now know that 3 have made it through. The first is Denver. So Denver is scheduled to be the first team to have an in-person head coach interview with Sean Payton. The Broncos, I'm reading from Adam Schefter's tweet here. The Broncos and Payton are scheduled to meet Tuesday morning in Los Angeles. So that'll happen on Tuesday. The Broncos, also according to Schefter, after they meet with Payton on Tuesday, Denver will interview Rams DC Raheem Morris later that day, also in L.A. So they're both there. So 2 birds, 1 stone type deal. So Sean Payton will interview with the Broncos. The other news that we've gotten is Arizona and Houston are the teams that have already requested and been granted permission to interview Sean Payton. Over at Pro Football Talk today, Florio and Shireen Williams were talking about Sean Payton, about these teams that are out there that are coveting and pursuing Sean Payton. One very interesting, so Shireen Williams she gave her opinion on who is the best fit. We'll get to that in a second. But Florio, this may floor you. Florio may floor you. See what I did there? It's a pun. It works. I'm with it. Florio talked about what Sean Payton's going to make.
I think there's already a loose understanding of what it's going to take to get him, and I don't think the Saints are going to be unreasonable here. They're going to work with Payton. They're going to get fair compensation, and then Payton is going to go somewhere where he's going to get more than fair compensation from ownership, and I think having the Walmart conglomerate at the table guarantees he's going to get north of $20 million. Last year, there was a report that the Dolphins are going to pay him $100 million, I think, on a 4 or 5 year deal. He's going to get $20 to $25 million by the time it's all said and done, or more from one of these teams. And the first step is he's got to figure out which one he wants to work for, but the presence of the others is going to allow him to squeeze even more out of whichever team it is that he picks.
Of course, Rob Walton, part of that ownership group in Denver, which paid $4.6 billion. $4.6 billion for the Denver Broncos. The McNair family, which of course owns the Houston Texans, they're also in the mix here, and of course the Bidwells that own the Cardinals. But there's Sean Payton's in his own words, he was not necessarily looking for a situation where there was a ready-made winner and there was a settled quarterback situation. Obviously, that would be preferred. But what he talked about was an organization that has a history of winning, that has a leadership and ownership structure where they've won. I mean, that's what he wants. Denver has that. While they have a new owner, they are an organization that has won over time. The Cardinals, you can't necessarily say that. Nor can you with the Houston Texans, as they've been really a disaster with how they handled the Deshaun Watson situation and then firing one-and-done coaches each of the last 2 years. So I don't know that that's the most stable situation that Sean Payton may want to walk into. But $20 to $25 million, one of these owners is going to pay it, and they're all billionaires, and they can afford it. And if Sean Payton brings stability, credibility, and instant winning to their franchise, of course you're going to pay that amount. I mean, they'll blow that amount on a first-round draft pick in guaranteed money with someone who's never taken an NFL snap. So, of course, you'll pay it to a proven championship-winning head coach. And I would also submit to you that the success Doug Peterson is having right now in Jacksonville is further validation for Sean Payton. Now, remember, Peterson won his Super Bowl in Philly and then had a couple of good seasons and then dropped off to a 4-win season. They blew him out. And Sean Payton never had that regression that Peterson did in Philly. He was just ready to step out. But some dudes just know how to coach ball and they know how to win. And Jacksonville is a great illustration of that with the contrast of what they were with Urban Meyer a year ago and what they are now with Doug Peterson. They won their division. It's incredible. But Shereen Williams on Pro Football Talk, I was surprised to see this because she thinks the best landing spot for Payton is out there in the desert.
When you start breaking down what each of these teams offers, to me, the Cardinals may be your best option because they don't have a GM, because you could be head of personnel there. Now, no coach has ever lasted more than 6 years as the head coach, but I don't know that Sean Payton would care about being there more than 6 years either. And you have Adrian Wilson and Quentin Harris in the front office who are rising stars who are up for interviews for a lot of these teams. And, you know, maybe you could work with them and be your own de facto GM. Bring in Jeff Ireland, who he's long worked with, to help him there. And I just think the Cardinals may be the best option. Are they going to be willing to pay the money? I don't know that, Mike. To me, that's the big question with the Cardinals. But obviously, all three of them are willing to give up the draft picks because, as you said, they have an understanding of what the Saints are going to be looking for. That's
The great point by Shereen Williams. The Saints have made it known what they want for Sean Payton. This isn't, we're not, no one is going to go into this negotiation and be surprised by what the Saints ask is. They've made it known. It's public. The Saints want a first-round draft pick for Sean Payton. Okay. Now, there are 32, or at this draft, 31 first-round picks. And the value of Arizona's pick, which is third overall, is dramatically more than what, say, Denver could offer. Of course, Denver doesn't have their first-round pick, but they have a late first-round pick that they acquired, so via San Fran. So there's that possibility. But 3 and 23 aren't the same, or even remotely close, with respect to money or the caliber of player you're getting. So Arizona knows what they're getting into here. And if it's not this year's first-round pick, perhaps it's this year's second-round pick, which is 34 overall, and maybe next year's first-round pick. I mean, if you're the Saints, you can squeeze them here. I mean, you have the leverage, and especially considering there are multiple teams that are interested in Sean Payton. So the Saints don't really control the bidding war. Ultimately, Payton is going to have to choose which job he wants to take, and then the Saints go and negotiate with that team for the rights. But if, in fact, it is Arizona and that's the situation, you know, it could end up being the situation if Arizona is not willing to part with the third pick, and maybe they would. Maybe they would. They got Kyler Murray. If Sean Payton goes in and says, I like Kyler Murray, he's our franchise, I can win with him, then if you're Arizona, you could trade the third pick for Sean Payton, and you still got number 34. So you're still going to get a really good player. It would surprise me. I'll say it would surprise me if Arizona was willing to give up the number 3 pick, but maybe that's just in my brain, the bias that a lot of us have with respect to the draft. When, I'll remind you, Mitchell Trubisky was the 3rd pick of the draft. How did that work out? Sam Darnold was the 3rd pick in the draft. How did that work out? Just because you have a high pick doesn't mean you're going to hit. Whereas if you bring in Sean Payton, you're guaranteed to have one of the best head coaches, not only currently in the NFL, but in the modern era. It's a Hall of Famer who took over the worst, arguably the worst situation ever in the NFL. I mean, you could argue when Sean Payton went to New Orleans, it's the worst situation ever in the NFL. After Hurricane Katrina, worst natural disaster, history of our country, vagabond season. You didn't even know if you're going back to New Orleans or going to San Antonio, what was going to happen. Your whole preseason, was the dome even going to be open? I mean, and they went to the NFC Championship game year one. He took a perennial loser, one of the worst professional organizations in the history of American professional sports, and turned him into a winner for a decade and a half. Would you rather that or take a shot with the third pick? So I could make the argument. I could make the argument why Arizona would be willing to give the Saints the number 3 pick for Sean Payton. I sure hope they will. Because if that happens, then the Saints get to draft their franchise quarterback. And they'll be taking a risk with it just because of the guys I just mentioned. Or maybe a hit. Houston's going to be fascinating as well. I don't have any doubt that any of these NFL franchise, any of these ownership groups are going to pay Sean Payton whatever it takes to get him. It's really going to be a matter of where does he want to go. He's going to be everybody's number one candidate. But the interesting thing as well is, are there other teams that are interested, that are going to be interested? Because the longer you wait to fill your job, like if you're waiting on Sean Payton's decision, other jobs are getting filled and candidates are coming off the board. So I don't know that this is a thing that gets super slow played, because in relatively short order, you're going to have to build up your staff and get ready for scouting to go to the combine in February, and then you're to draft prep and free agency. It's coming, y'all. So, or free agency and draft prep. So, Sean Payton, again, formally will interview with Denver on Tuesday, and Arizona and Houston will follow as well. Where will he land? Don't know. But the exciting part, if you're a Saints fan, is you're not getting Sean Payton back, and that stinks. But there's a reason for hope, because you're going to be able to recoup an asset that's going to help you start to rebuild your organization, which desperately needs it, especially at the most important position on the field. All right. Got a thought? Let me know. You can email us, tweet us, jump in the Buy Forward YouTube chat, or text us in the 225-396-4400, 396-4400, 396-4400. Lots of ways to get involved in the show. The 3 teams I just mentioned, Arizona, Houston, and Denver, none of them are participating in this weekend's NFL playoffs. However, the teams that are, we're going to talk about those with Paul Nolan when we come back. Best bets for this weekend. Paul Nolan of freewinners.net is going to join us next here on AFR.
AFR.
AFR is brought to you by Clegg's Nursery. Buy local, shop local over at Clegg's Nursery. It is a great time of year to plant trees and shrubs. And look, a lot of times, not your citrus trees, okay? Because that may require, if we get cold snaps, like again, it's going to be in the 40s tonight and in the 30s tomorrow, that requires some pretty specific care. But right now, it's a great time to plant shade trees or fruit trees like peaches and plums and pears, not your citrus trees. They're also getting new shipments daily of vegetable seeds, so you can start to plan your spring vegetable garden. Seed potatoes have arrived. New shipment of trees and shrubs weekly, and of course, flowering plants arrive throughout the week. So if you want to add that pop of color, even here in the cold weather months, you can do it, courtesy of our friends at Clegg's Nursery. Just go ask any of their horticulturists for advice. They're happy to help. It's Clegg's Nursery. Buy local, shop local. Tell them Matt sent you to Clegg's Nursery.
Corval Toyota in Opelousas is here to help you ring in the new year with no markups, and you'll never pay over MSRP. And we have new inventory arriving daily. So Happy New Year from our Corval Toyota family to yours.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
This is a house call. This is a follow-up appointment. This is a diabetes checkup. This isn't just more convenient care, it's more advanced care. This is innovating healthcare at Louisiana's #1 hospital, Ochsner.
Eli's always been into grilling. It took us a while to see it, but the signs were there.
What are you doing, Eli?
I knew grilling was my thing. I have been talking about it throughout my career.
Happy with the results?
I am. Got the new grill from barbecueguys.com. It performed great.
My advice, as I always told my boys,
do more of what you were born to do.
Barbecue Guys, for those who were born to grill.
You want cheese on your burger, Pops?
I'll take a little cheese.
Time doesn't stop, and the world keeps spinning. Community, culture, and communications, the powerful circle that connects us together. We're creating the next evolution, a network built for every possibility, moving faster than ever before, streaming us forward into the future. And the revolution is closer than you think. RTC, ETEL, and Vision are now Rev. New name, same company.
Miller Lite has more taste.
After further review with Matt Moscona, ESPN Baton Rouge, New Orleans, Alexandria.
We're big fans of Paul Nolan at freewinners.net. Gigantic fans of the Step Brothers poster behind Paul Nolan at freewinners.net, who joins us now on the show. How are you, man?
Oh, good, buddy. How you doing? Yeah, I call this my beat lab.
And instantly you have gained an insurmountable amount of credibility with young Matthew Musso over there, who is the most absurd Step Brothers fan ever. So that is awesome.
You know what? I always say there are 3 films that changed filmmaking in America. It was Citizen Kane, it was The Godfather 2, and Step Brothers.
What in the world? Why'd you say that?
I don't know I have no idea what I'm saying.
That's so good. Anyway, so if you're listening on radio and not watching either on WBTR or on YouTube, behind Paul, he's got the poster or the picture of Will Ferrell and John C. Reilly in their tuxedos in the interview scene from Step Brothers. It's right behind him. It's a beautiful shot. I meant to bring it up last week and I totally forgot. By the way, though, last week, how about your boy? Paul doled out some prop bets on wildcard weekend, and except for Zay Jones, who didn't play, you nailed them all, man. So congrats, a great weekend for Paul Nolan, who was a little ahead of the curve, obviously, on all the guys who had incentives ahead of them. What was it? Were you sweating anything this past weekend?
Not really. You kind of had to let it play out, and the way it worked, you kind of had to do both Kirk and Jones together, knowing, somebody was going to get get the vittles, so to speak, So it was kind of a 2-part thing, and you kind of hoping for both. Yeah, I think we saw that last week. Trevor Lawrence did look a little bit nervous. I mean, he just looked a little tight, and that's natural. In my opinion, that was his first playoff game. There's a lot of talk this week in the gambling community about rookies, young quarterbacks in their first playoff game versus quarterbacks who've played in the playoffs. So I think this is a nice advantage for him going against Herbert this week too, because that was a playoff game. I mean, if you guys watched that, the intensity was there. You felt the energy on the field, in the stands. Every play mattered. It was a fun game. Really exciting game.
My mistake. I said Zadarius Jones. I meant Zadarius Smith, who was inactive. My apologies on that one.
Right.
So we do go into Wild Card Weekend now. Are there quarterbacks are a gigantic storyline, especially when you look in spots in the AFC in particular. Anything that that's been particularly hard for you to handicap here this week, Paul?
Well, we talked about, just I think the number is 14 wins and 37 losses for a first-time QB going against, that's ATS, going against a quarterback with playoff experience, so in the last 51 plus a couple pushes in there. So when you look at it, it's Geno Smith, never played a playoff game, and Brock Purdy, obviously. Then it's these two boys, Trevor Lawrence and Justin, Herbert. And look, the whole league wants Lawrence to be just like Herbert. You could see these two guys, they ended up posting up very similar numbers. So that's an interesting matchup. Then you got Josh Allen, who's playoff tested and battled, going against, Skylar Thompson. I mean, he just doesn't look ready for prime time, let alone playoff prime time. So really tough matchup there in that one. But that's why I think there's some great player props in there. And, one of the things I try to warn people, if they're not going to text us at 313, get info for the free picks, I try to warn guys, if you're going to go it alone, just know some of the basic rules that there's a 20% tax on all player props. Because 83% of the player props this year, Matty, was bet to the over. So every odds maker puts 20% juice, like for example, a guy who's the math says he should be over 50 yards receiving is automatically 58, 59, 60. Okay. And they do that because they know they're going to drag people into it because people are used to, they've been trained to try to put together their fantasy, daily fantasy teams, and it's all about just the most points from each individual guy. And the other thing is people like to bet overs in general just because you feel like you're always in it. People don't want to bet unders or root against people,
Right.
Unders, you're sweating out an under at the very end, no?
That's my wife. Anytime I make a bet, Paul, and if I have an underplay, my wife is so annoyed. She's like, why do I have to cheer for the defense? I'm like, because it's the right play. Yes, that's my wife, the casual. Well,
that's some marriage. When you're bringing your wife into the gambling, that's wonderful.
Paul, she has this is my job. All I do is watch sports all the time. It's the only way to keep her interested in what's on the TV all the time. It's like, babe, we got money on the line. You got to watch and care right now. It's like, okay, that's how she's in.
That's funny.
You got any? Do you have any? By the way, again, Paul mentioned it. You can text the word free. That's FREE. Text the word free to 313. Get info. It's 313-438-4636. Paul's going to give you a free weekend pass for the NFL playoffs. Also, best bet for the NBA tonight as well on that's Boston and Brooklyn tonight. So you can get that play right now. So text the word free to 313. Get info. Paul, let's look at the NFL weekend. You said you do have a play that you like on Sunday for our audience.
Yeah. There's a couple things I like, and this is an interesting week because you kind of have to play the numbers, play the lines, obviously with limited action. Right now, when you can see that there's, you can get Baltimore plus 10.5 right now, to me, it just seems like that defense should be able to, keep this thing in check. Last week when they played that game, what I found the most interesting was Harbaugh went out of his way to have Anthony Brown throw the ball 44 times in his first start, which was, pretty crazy to me, but it just looked to me like it was like the game meant nothing. So let's give this kid the whole playbook. Let's expand all of his abilities. Let's see what he's capable of. Let's show what we want to show here and now against what we know we're going to play next week. And it put them in a position where they kind of expanded his ability to, to make plays with confidence next week. And obviously I think they're going to run a completely different game plan. But when you saw that game, Bengals come out of that gate and they have this long drive that ends up in a field goal. Then right away, Brown turns the ball over at the 48-yard line, and they go on a short field, and they get a touchdown. Then they get the beginning of the second quarter, they get a turnover on the 33. Another short drive leads to a touchdown. So it put them in a hole right away. But that defense, outside of those first, those drives, they held the Bengals to 15 total first downs and only 4 in the second half. And when you look at the splits across the board, this is a team that has done everything right since week 9 when they traded for Roquan. Roquan unleashed Patrick Queen. It really reminds me of when Bart Scott came over the way. He was like a junkyard dog flying all over the field while Ray Lewis just manned the whole center and just clogged everything.
Yeah.
It just, I'm seeing that field there. It's so exciting. And I'm a guy who loves linebacker play and defense. And and the reason probably is because I played D as a kid, but more importantly is unders. There's always more value, and I've been a guy who's lived on unders. So with Alex Kappa out and Alal Collins out, the whole right side of that offensive line being down. Now I know Burrow's great under pressure, and I right now I got to tell you, I think I would take him in any. If I'm starting a franchise and I could pick any quarterback in the league, I might start right there with him, only because of all the intangibles. His ability to read defenses, his calm and he's just so calm under pressure. But this Baltimore defense is just like I know that this is a team that's willing to fight the fight and carry it. And now if Lamar does make some kind of magical appearance, which there are rumblings, and I have some contacts that I trust, who I've been doing this since I'm 18 years old, 37 years I'm at it, and I can promise you, guys I know who are in the know think that there's an outside chance Lamar might play. Now, I know it's Thursday and it doesn't look good because he hasn't practiced all week. But if he does, that line's coming right back to 5.5, and I'm going to have an opportunity for a middle. Okay. And I like that. I like that opportunity. With a 10.5 and 11 out there right now, I have no choice but to take this defense and those points.
Paul, do you anticipate any line movement before any potential Lamar Jackson news?
Yeah, I think it'll be insiders who get the information, wise guys who get it, and then wise guys make a big, giant bet on it. And when guys who are respected in the know, odds makers will change the line just based on one or two people or one or two groups. And it's not just money and volume. It's it's the respect of the people who do get good information, good intel. Yeah. And I'm working hard to be the first kid on the block to get that. And I'm hoping I do, because I love catching value, man. I just, that's what this whole thing's about.
All right. Paul's giving us Baltimore. You can find some 10.5s out there. I'm looking at right now, DraftKings. Yeah, go ahead.
BetUS has 10.5. DraftKings I see has 9.5. It's a lot of 9.5s now. There's a 10 over at Fox Bet, New Jersey, and Bovada. So there's some 10s out there. So the 10.5 at BetUS seems to be a standout, which I'm actually making a bet on as we speak. Sorry.
do what you got to do. That allows me to remind people to text the word free to 313-GET-INFO. That's 313-438-4636. Again, text the word free to 313-GET-INFO. Paul's going to give you the NBA game tonight with Boston and Brooklyn, an entire free weekend for the NFL also. Paul, did you say there was a prop bet or two you liked?
Yeah, well, there's quite a few that I love, and that's what I'm doing. Like the main thing I'm doing this week is the $99 to help. We doing the money back guarantee. That $99 gives you all my prop bets Saturday, Sunday, and Monday, plus a week of my best bets. But for free on the air, one of the things I thought was a good value for your listeners who have been great to us, by the way. Awesome. Really appreciate all the phone calls from down there and all the text messages and all the good people. Dawson Knox is a guy who gets about 50 snaps a game. He gets 35 passing snaps a game, and he's a quality tight end, good blocker. He's a guy who can find soft spots in the middle, and I think this Miami defense is underrated, and especially their secondary is really strong, and they're good against the run, 3.7 yards a carry. They have an 84 QBR against in the secondary, but they have one weak spot, the one weak link in this chain is their 126 QBR to tight ends. And I like Dawson Knox in this spot. I think he'll be able to get 34 yards. I think it's a really fair value. Legit, it takes really, one first down and one broken play, and he's got it. So if he gets 3 or 4 catches, I think, 34 yards is an easy bet on this one. And I know that Josh Allen's going to need to find them as an outlet to keep this offense on schedule, because they're not going to be able to run the ball as well as they normally do.
He is Paul Nolan, freewinners.net. So Paul's giving you Baltimore. Again, you could find a 10.5 out there. I'm looking at 9.5 at DraftKings right now, but Baltimore on the points, and then Dawson Knox, a prop bet over 33.5 receiving yards, what I'm looking at DraftKings. So get in the action, man. Paul's been nailing it all season. I know Paul's a big part of Jimmy Ott's Magnolia Bluff Football Sunday. And Jimmy, or Paul, do you offhand know the total that you guys went this year for the season on Magnolia Bluffs Football Sunday? It was something like 40 games over 500 or something like that.
40 games over 500 with me, Jimmy, and Esco. And, Jimmy's great at his job, too. I really like the station down there. I appreciate it. Yeah, Jimmy's a fun guy. And, there were times where I snuck in extra picks because I was on a roll. He's like, whoa, Paul's giving us 2, Paulie, 2. And I'm throwing out 3. And so, I'm trying not to be too much of a degenerate on the air here.
No, man, are you kidding me? When would anybody turn their nose at a winner? Freewinners.net. He is Paul Nolan again. If you want Paul's full free weekend, you text the word free to 313-GET-INFO. 313-GET-INFO. That's 313-438-4636. Paul, I can't wait, man. We're going to start talking some basketball, some hockey as well. But we got NFL playoffs at hand right now, man. I'm excited about it. We appreciate the time as always.
Yeah, I really appreciate it too. And I promise the guys out there, you don't get callbacks. You don't get on any kind of list from heck. You just text in, you get your free picks. And if you build a relationship, you're interested in getting involved, I promise you, we won't let you down. I really feel great about it. I honestly love this board this weekend. So anyone texting 313-GET-INFO will be really happy.
You're the best. Thanks, Paul. We appreciate it, man.
Thanks, guys. Have a great night.
You do the same. Paul Nolan, freewinners.net, of course, rocking that Step Brothers poster behind him. Looks so good. You got to if you're not watching this on YouTube or WBTR, at least go on demand and check it out so you can see Paul's Step Brothers poster. It's awesome. All right, it's after further review. Let's knock out a quick break here. We'll come back and we'll wrap up hour number 2. Stick around.
AFR.
We're brought to you by Darren James and Associates, brokered by eXp Realty. Every home listed by every company, all in one place. You know where to find them. It's at agent225.com. Agent225.com. If you need to sell your home, you need to call the realtor that sells more homes than anyone. That's Darren James. 335-7666. 335-7666. I promise you this much. Darren has so many great programs to show his loyalty and his love for his clients, like the Love It or Leave It program. Buy a home from Darren. If for whatever reason you have to move within a year, he will sell your home for free for his half of the commission. I'm telling you, nights, weekends, it don't matter when. Darren's always by his phone. There are a few people in the world that make me look lazy. Darren's one of them because that guy works, as he always says. Late to bed, early to rise, work like heck, and advertise and get your home sold. If you need to get to that closing table fast for the most amount of money, you need Darren James. Agent225.com.
Think real estate, think Darren James.
Bayou Ford has $10,000 off MSRP on a new 2022 Ford F-150, plus no payments for 90 days and 2.9% APR for 72 months. All new Bayou vehicles come with a 1 million mile powertrain warranty. If you need sales or service, the crew at Bayou Ford is going to do right by you.
Follow us on Twitter at 1045ESPN to cast your vote in the Citizens Bank and Trust poll of the day. Vote daily inside Off the Bench, anytime. Hunt Palmer. And after further review, Citizens Bank and Trust brings you the poll of the day via Twitter at 1045ESPN.
At Auctioner, we know healing is a team sport. That's why we've partnered with world-renowned orthopedic surgeon Dr. James Andrews to create the Auctioner Andrews Orthopedics and Sports Medicine Institute. Whether you're a professional athlete or a weekend warrior, our team of specialists are dedicated to getting you back in the game. So whatever your reasons are for reaching your personal best, we've only got one. You. Auctioner Andrews Institute. Long live you.
Have you ever heard the tale of the misunderstood bull? A menacing beast who was born to float. A force of nature, the embodiment of grace, quite grand, yet quiet and nimble. The Infiniti QX80.
Experience the Infiniti QX80 at your local Infiniti retailer.
Service Mastery Elite create clean, disinfected work environments. As a local business, we take pride in serving the New Orleans and Baton Rouge areas. Our cleaning protocols follow CDC and OSHA standards for healthcare settings, offices, senior living, restaurants, and industrial plants. Contact Service Mastery Elite to get your operation ready for reopening with germ disinfection cleaning. Service Mastery Elite, the trusted choice in professional cleaning since 1996.
Louisiana. It's a place defined by culture, by pride, by passion, by people who do more than love this place. They celebrate it, elevate it, champion it. They are the individuals who embody what makes Louisiana great. The companies that make Louisiana a better place to work and live. The nonprofits leading transformational change in our communities. Champions of Louisiana are all around us, and LWCC is proud to celebrate them because we've always been Louisiana loyal, supporting the workers, the innovators, the change agents of this great place we call home. Who are the champions around you? Together, we can share their stories. Together, we can help our home state thrive. Together, we are.
After further review with Matt Moscona, ESPN Baton Rouge, New Orleans, Alexandria.
All right, wrapping up hour number 2. We're glad you're with us. If you missed hour 1, Adam Hill was here from Las Vegas Review-Journal. We talked about Derek Carr and everything you need to know about that situation, the possibility of him ending up in New Orleans. As a matter of fact, that's our Citizens Bank and Trust poll question of the day. Do you want the Saints to sign Derek Carr? You can go check out the poll question on Twitter at 1045ESPN. You just heard Paul Nolan and Mike Triplett in about 25 minutes from right now. A Saints season recap and a bit of a preview of the offseason needs, players, free agents, staff changes, potential. All that's coming up with Triplett coming up in a little bit. All right, right now, Musso, Tigers in the pros.
Tigers in the pros. They still bleed purple and gold. They're just really rich now. Presented by Lee Michaels Fine Jewelry. Lee Michaels Fine Jewelry, where Baton Rouge gets engaged.
NFL playoffs, wildcard weekend, of course, getting underway on Saturday. There is heavy LSU representation in the NFL playoffs, as you might imagine. 27 former Tigers on playoff rosters, 24 on active rosters this weekend. 13 of the 14 teams have at least one LSU player. The team that doesn't, the Philadelphia Eagles. So everybody root against the Philadelphia Eagles.
I hate the Schmeagles.
What are we doing? The best of luck to those guys.
Losing.
Yesterday,
Schmeagles.
The NFL Players Association released the inaugural Players All-Pro team, voted on by the players. Justin Jefferson, the lone LSU Tiger to make the All-Pro team for the players. That, of course, after leading the NFL with 1,809 receiving yards for the Minnesota Vikings. NBA action last night. Naz Reid for the Minnesota Timberwolves logged 13 minutes off the bench, 4 of 7 from the floor, 8 points to go along with 8 rebounds. Real solid night. The Timberwolves lost to the Pistons, though, who stink.
Yeah, should have stayed.
Yeah, should have. Tari Eason last night. Did we do this already? Would he still be here, or would he be gone now?
We've done that already.
Okay.
I think because of the COVID year, if I'm not mistaken, he would have still had an extra year.
And he should have taken it.
Yeah, should have done it.
Tari Eason last night, 19 minutes off the bench for the Rockets, 7 points off of 3 of 6 from the floor, added 3 rebounds to close out his night, and the Rockets lost to the Kings, who are not terrible, but better. Golf, PGA Tour. West Coast swing continues. Got the Sony Open in Hawaii underway right now. Ben Taylor will tee off in about 7 minutes, 5 p.m. Central Time. When he does so to start his tournament, he will be looking up at a pair of Americans, Chris Kirk and Jordan Spieth.
That's right.
Tied at 6 under par.
America. That's
in
right.
round 1. Yeah. There
Guy who's not from America.
Whoa, but he went to LSU.
Who?
Ben Taylor.
Yeah, not from America.
But he went to LSU.
Not from America.
But he's an LSU Tiger. So, I mean, you know, we root for Ben.
These colors don't run.
Okay. All right. Look, he needs to go post a number because the guy ain't even teed off. He's already 6 shots back. It's kind of unfair when you look at it that way. That's Tigers in the pros.
Right. Presented by Lee Michaels Fine Jewelry. LMFJ.com. Gentlemen, thrill her with a gift in the red box from Lee Michaels Fine Jewelry. A great community partner. Been around for 40 years. The highest quality diamonds with sparkle and brilliance, sure to thrill her and make you a hero. It's Lee Michaels Fine Jewelry. LMFJ.com. LMFJ.com for Lee Michaels Fine Jewelry. Reports all over the place that Clemson is set to hire Garrett Riley as their new offensive coordinator. Of course, Garrett Riley, the offensive coordinator at TCU, now leaving TCU for Clemson. That's interesting, mostly here because of all of the Walker Howard rumors and the possibility of Walker Howard going to TCU. Now, Sonny Dykes is an offensive-minded head coach and would certainly still run that offense and be piloting the ship, but it bears watching to see who is going to ultimately be the play caller there in Fort Worth with TCU, with Garrett Riley leaving TCU for Clemson. All right, it is after further review. Speaking of, we'll sort of reset the Walker Howard news again, and also Xavier Carter, if you missed it today, LSU defensive end, outside linebacker, Jack linebacker has entered the transfer portal. We'll get to that in the next hour as well. We are brought to you by Relief Windows and ReliefWindows.com. Energy-efficient replacement windows, beautiful entry doors, hardy plank and vinyl siding, but most importantly, yes, you'll get beautiful windows, you'll get exquisite quality, but most important, it's the customer service. At Relief Windows, it's just what Brandon Holly demands. You're going to get exceptional customer service every single time with Relief Windows. It's why you call Relief Windows. You can buy windows anywhere, and they sell you great quality windows. And I can tell you all about them in the lifetime warranty on labor, material, and glass breakage, but mostly the customer service is what sets Relief Windows apart. 288-8138 at reliefwindows.com. Sports Center is next, then Hour 3.
AFR.
There it is, the extra mile. On the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected. Supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
I'm Chris Nakamoto, and here's what I'm working on for my stories on WBRZ Channel 2 tonight. 2 state troopers indicted for the death of Ronald Green suspended without pay today by the Louisiana State Police Commission. But there's a catch. Both of them will continue getting paid. That's because they're using their accrued paid time off. It came as a slap in the face to the Green family, who flew in from Florida pleading with the commissioners to do the right thing. I'm Chris Nakamoto from WBRZ. Watch more tonight on WBRZ Channel 2.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
This is a house call. This is a follow-up appointment. This is a diabetes checkup. This isn't just more convenient care, it's more advanced care. This is innovating healthcare at Louisiana's #1 hospital, Ochsner.
Eli's always been into grilling. It took us a while to see it, but the signs were there.
What are you doing, Eli?
I knew grilling was my thing. I have been talking about it throughout my career.
Happy with the results?
I am. Got the new grill from barbecueguys.com. It performed great.
My advice, as I always told my boys,
do more of what you were born to do.
Barbecue Guys, for those who were born to grill.
You want cheese on your burger, Pops?
I'll take a little cheese.
Time doesn't stop, and the world keeps spinning. Community, culture, and communications, the powerful circle that connects us together. We're creating the next evolution, a network built for every possibility, moving faster than ever before, streaming us forward into the future. And the revolution is closer than you think. RTC, ETEL, and vision are now Rev. New name, same company.
You ever heard the tale of the misunderstood bull? A menacing beast who was born to float. A force of nature. The embodiment of grace. Quite grand, yet quiet and nimble. The Infinity QX80.
Experience the Infinity QX80 at your local Infinity retailer.
Sports Center.
I'm Christine Lisi. The Cowboys' disappointing performance in the regular season finale isn't leading to any drastic changes for the team's NFC wildcard game against the Buccaneers on Monday night. According to Coach Mike McCarthy, he called the Commanders' loss something they'll learn from and move forward with. Part of that should involve McCarthy and offensive coordinator Kellen Moore helping quarterback Dak Prescott return to form, advises our Harry Douglas.
Dak Prescott hasn't played his best football. He has turnovers after turnovers, and I think it's something he's going to be thinking about going into this playoffs. It's your job as a head coach. It's your job as a play caller to get through to Dak, to try to minimize some things so he doesn't have those turnovers that he is having. But at the end of the day, Dak Prescott has to be better in his decision-making. He has to be better in his read.
It's and Harry co-host Harry Douglas. Ravens QB Lamar Jackson missed his 17th straight day of practice due to a sprained knee. Tyler Huntley will start if Jackson's out of Sunday's AFC wildcard game against the Bengals. Chargers receiver Mike Williams questionable against Jacksonville in Saturday's AFC wildcard matchup because of a back injury.
ESPN Radio is presented by Progressive Insurance. Looking for a career you'll love with flexibility, great pay, and benefits, and one of the country's top workplaces? Come join their growing team. Go to progressive.com/careers and apply online today.
Matt Moscona.
I'm very important.
After further review.
Say it one more time.
After further review with Matt Moscona.
And here we go.
ESPN Baton Rouge, New Orleans, Alexandria. Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studios.
That's right.
Hour 3, off we go. Welcome aboard. Glad you're with us. It's AFR. I'm Matt.
Love you, Matt.
Paul O'Neill.
They're chanting Paul O'Neill's name.
Musso. And Mr. Toby Tumpley. All right, we're here. Glad you are as well. Get out there and make it a good one. It's 5 o'clock quitting time. Glad you're driving home with us. Mike Triplett, less than 15 minutes from right now. Saints season recap, off-season preview. We'll get to all that with Mike coming up here shortly. If you're just joining us, haven't heard the news, Sean Payton has been granted formally permission to interview with 3 teams already, the Broncos, the Texans, and the Cardinals. The first will be the Broncos on Tuesday. So we'll touch on that a bit with Mike Triplett coming up in about 15 minutes from right now. Real quick, I'm not going to spend the entire segment on this, but so after the national championship game on Monday, where Georgia bludgeoned TCU, I tweeted, I put, congratulations to Georgia, great team. Now, here's your reminder that 2019 LSU would have beaten you like a drum. And I tweeted the video that Mike Greenberg did after LSU beat Clemson and won the national title. And if you haven't heard it, it's, you know what? Actually, let's play it. Let's play this audio here of Greeny. Here it is in its entirety. I'm not here to debate. Wait, hang on one second. My bad. I knew I would have 2 things open. It seems to always work out that way whenever you're trying to do something. Hang on. My apologies. Here we go. This is what Greenberg said. It's a minute and 10 seconds long. Here you go.
So, look, I'm not here to debate whether or not LSU this season was the best college football team ever, because that is not a debate anyone can ever win. I'm actually not here to debate anything. I'm just here to say that LSU had the greatest season ever, and it isn't especially close. Yes, they scored more points than any team ever did. And yes, their players and coaches won the Heisman, the Maxwell, the Walter Camp, the Davey O'Brien, the Biletnikoff, the Jim Thorpe, the Frank Broyles, and the Coach of the Year awards. They played 15 games. They never trailed in the fourth quarter. In fact, they only ever trailed by double digits one time. That was Monday. And they then outscored Clemson 35-8 after falling behind. But those don't tell the story of what this team accomplished. LSU beat 7 top 10 teams. That's the most ever. They beat 4 top 5 teams. Last time that happened was the year I was born. They're the only team ever to beat the entire preseason top 4. 3 of those were their last 3 games. The other was Alabama on the road with Tua. And here is my final argument. This season, Clemson, Oklahoma, Alabama, Florida, and Georgia went a combined 60-4 against everybody else. LSU beat them all by an average of 20 points a game. So, you can have all the debates you want. I'm just going to sit here and smile and say, I rest my case.
Okay, so I tweeted that, much to the ire of a lot of Georgia fans, I don't care, and much to the glee of a lot of LSU fans. And the only reason I did is because we had these stupid argument, or a lot of stupid people on Twitter that started to say, 2022 Georgia beat LSU. No. And if we do this every year that there's a national champion, and you try to say that they could beat 2019 LSU, it's phenomenal that you are the standard, but I'm going to continue to remind people how stupid they are by continuing to say that. That tweet has been liked 7,000 times and retweeted nearly 2,000 times, and the analytics on it now are that it has been viewed, that tweet has been viewed 442,000 times. So I'm doing my part to remind the collective college football loving world on Twitter that 2019 is the greatest college football team ever and will never be bested. Sports Betting Dime did put out a hypothetical point spread, if you're curious. 2019 LSU would have been a 6.5-point favorite against 2022 Georgia. The national champion that just won the national championship game 65-7 would have been a touchdown underdog to 2019 LSU. And I'm here to tell you, 2019 LSU covers with ease. They'd have skull drug Georgia like they did everybody else that year. It's the greatest college football team that ever did exist. And their NFL careers are only further validating that. So continue to wave that banner with pride, all ye purple and gold faithful. All right, it's After Further Review. Thank you for being here with us. Of course, we are brought to you by Mold Zero USA. I'm going to get to the LSU transfer stuff here in a second. Mold-0USA.com. Again, Mold-0USA.com. That's where you can find Mold Zero. Remember, they service the entire greater Baton Rouge and greater New Orleans areas, so you can get to the website at mold-0USA.com. Get the phone number for Baton Rouge or New Orleans, whichever you need, and just remember this. We all deserve to live in a mold-free home, work in a mold-free office building, eat in mold-free restaurants, wherever we go. But it's Louisiana, and it's wet and humid here, and it's a perfect breeding ground for mold. So if you have mold, don't. And don't worry about cutting sheetrock. These are minimally invasive treatments. You're not talking about cutting sheetrock. They come in and they just spray this dry fog, this patented non-toxic dry fog. As soon as the fog dissipates, you can go back in. Totally free of mold, removing odors and other pathogens. It's Mold Zero, mold-0USA.com, mold-zero-USA.com. All right, so Walker Howard has hopped into the transfer portal. That news broke yesterday while we were on air. Talked about it a good bit yesterday. I talked about it last night with T-Bob on Scone and T. And we did open the show kind of with the latest. I guess I'm not going to reset the entire conversation, but I think the biggest question that LSU fans have now is, where is Walker Howard going to go? Because one of two realities will present. Either Walker Howard goes somewhere in the SEC where you're going to have to play against him, or he goes to a place like TCU, as many of you have mentioned, and you don't have to play against him. As best I could gather, and I know all the conversations that have been had, and a lot of you think that it's a done deal that he's going to TCU, and he may end up going to TCU. What I'm here to tell you is that's not a done deal. And I do believe Florida and Auburn and quite possibly Alabama are going to be in the mix there. Who ultimately wins Walker Howard's services, we'll see, and I'm guessing we're going to see in relatively short order. I do believe that he's probably going to take some visits and will ultimately make that decision quickly because he's going to have to be enrolled in school to be able to go through spring practice. at his new school. So they're going to move quickly to find out. Like if I'm an LSU fan, I want Walker Howard to go to TCU. I want him to go to a place where you're not going to have to face him. You know, you would hate to see a situation where he ends up at Florida or Auburn, and you got to face him every year. So, look, Auburn has been super aggressive in the portal. We know that they've had a really good portal year. They just landed Justin Rogers. I'll remind you, Justin Rogers was the fourth highest rated signee ever at Kentucky. Big defensive lineman out of Michigan who went to Kentucky and was supposed to be visiting. He visited Auburn. He was supposed to be visiting LSU and Alabama this weekend, and he signed with Auburn while he was there. Yellowwood slanging cash, y'all. And I'm not telling you cash is the thing that's going to motivate Walker Howard. I legitimately don't think that's the case. But there's a reason really good players are choosing Auburn amid a disastrous run where they blew out Brian Harsin, and you bring in Hugh Freeze, and they've turned over 31 spots on their roster. Yellowwood slanging cash. I mean, DeMario Tolan went to Auburn because he got an NIL deal. I want to be very clear. I don't care. That's the nature of college football today, and I'm okay with it. I am okay with young people getting paid. Go get your money. But you're going to win some, and you're going to lose some. That's the nature of how this is going to go with the portal and with NIL. Sometimes it's going to work in your favor, and sometimes it's not. So make sure you're using the system to your advantage to get yours, and understand you're going to lose a few as well. But the other thing I'll point out, I was thinking about this earlier today. If you go and look, so in the history of the 247 composite, the rankings of LSU quarterbacks in the history of the recruiting rankings, Russell Shepard's the highest ranked ever. He was the number 3 overall player in the country. Ryan Perrilloux was the number 1 quarterback, the number 6 overall player in the country. Neither finished their career as quarterbacks at LSU. Jamarcus was the 3rd highest ranked. And then Walker Howard, 4th highest ranked quarterback in the 247 composite ever to sign with LSU. Shepard, Perrilloux, J-Rock, and Walker. And then Brandon Harris is 5. But just as a reference point, so Russell Shepard never played quarterback at LSU. Ryan Perrilloux got booted, as we know. Jamarcus became the number 1 pick, and now we won't get to see Walker Howard's potential realized. The 5th highest rated quarterback ever to sign with LSU in this era is Brandon Harris. And Brandon Harris ended up transferring out of LSU. Then the next highest is Garrett Nussmeier. So one of the guys of the top 6, the 6th highest rated quarterback ever to sign with LSU is still on campus, I'll remind you, and is backing up the guy who started 40 games in his career and just accounted for 70% of your offense. And then the next highest ranked quarterback after Nussmeier is Colin Hurley, who's currently committed as your 2024 quarterback. I guess my point, and then look, then's Lester Ricard, who transferred and went to Tulane. Mettenberger, who was a transfer. Hayden Reddick, who never played here. Miles Brennan, we know the Brennan story. Jarrett Lee. Gerard Randall. Remember Gerard Randall? The Anthony Jennings, then there's Ricky Collins. Max Johnson, way down the list. Lowell Narcisse, Jordan Jefferson. There's Matt Flynn. He was a 4-star, the number 159 prospect in the country. Peter Parrish, never played. TJ Finley, COVID year and transferred. Zach Lee, went and played baseball. Chris Garrett never played. Stephen Rivers never played. Lindsey Scott never played. Justin McMillan never played. Then some guys that were walk-ons here. My point is, despite a less than stellar recruiting history at the quarterback position, LSU still managed to win a lot. And the 2 and soon to be 3 guys that you have on campus are way better than a lot of quarterback rooms you've ever had in the past. So it's a bummer. Would have loved to have seen Walker Howard be great here. But LSU's going to be fine. Okay. It's after further review. Let me knock out a quick break, come back, Saints season postmortem, and then we'll do a sort of a preview of the offseason with Mike Triplett. Glad you're here. It's AFR.
AFR.
Man, the response to New Orleans flooring has been awesome. So thank you. It's been just a couple of weeks since we've been talking about New Orleans flooring, and so many of you have sort of rushed their showroom. And it makes sense. At New Orleans flooring, they've really mastered it. They manufacture their own product, which is a superior product. And so we're not just talking about wood. There's wood, there's laminate, there's tile, there's carpet. But not only do they have a superior product, but because they manufacture it, they have it in stock. So you can buy it today and they can install it tomorrow, literally. And you can save 40 to 50%. I mean, if you're a homeowner looking to redo your floors, if you're a contractor doing flips and you're worried about expenses and how much falls to the bottom line, New Orleans Flooring, y'all. Go online, nolaflooring.com.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime during this challenging event. And we're right there with you. Our mobile banking app is a smart way to manage your money and time. Gulf Coast Bank and Trust, the bank that cares about you.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
At Ochsner, we know healing is a team sport. That's why we've partnered with world-renowned orthopedic surgeon Dr. James Andrews to create the Ochsner Andrews Orthopedics and Sports Medicine Institute. Whether you're a professional athlete or a weekend warrior, our team of specialists are dedicated to getting you back in the game. So whatever your reasons are for reaching your personal best, we've only got one: you. Ochsner Andrews Institute. Long live you.
Service Master Elite create clean, disinfected work environments. As a local business, we take pride in serving the New Orleans and Baton Rouge areas. Our cleaning protocols follow CDC and OSHA standards for healthcare settings, offices, senior living, restaurants, and industrial plants. Contact Service Master Elite to get your operation ready for reopening with germ disinfection cleaning. Service Master Elite, the trusted choice in professional cleaning since 1996.
Louisiana. It's a place defined by culture, by pride, by passion, by people who do more than love this place. They celebrate it, elevate it, champion it. They are the individuals who embody what makes Louisiana great. The companies that make Louisiana a better place to work and live. The nonprofits leading transformational change in our communities. Champions of Louisiana are all around us, and LWCC is proud to celebrate them because we've always been Louisiana loyal, supporting the workers, the innovators, the change agents of this great place we call home. Who are the champions around you? Together, we can share their stories. Together, we can help our home state thrive.
After further review with Matt Moscona, ESPN Baton Rouge, New Orleans, Alexandria.
Mike!
Yeah?
Saints coverage with some Mad Libs mixed in.
Why don't you just go by Mike?
It's time to talk black and gold with Mike Triplett of New Orleans Football. Presented by Benny's Car Wash. Family owned and operated since 1951.
I'd like to let it play a little bit. It's about to run out. We got 10 more seconds. All right. I'm going to miss it when the season's over. I guess the season's over. One more time, I guess, with Mike Triplett until I bother him again. How are you, dude?
We can play that song year-round.
Yeah, I know, man. Especially, dude, I'm wearing my G-Nikes right now as well. So, I mean, wearing my Air Force Ones. I mean, I tell you, I probably just bump myself in with that every day. Maybe we'll change the show intro to the Be Like Mike theme. I'm not opposed. Just ignore the Gatorade part.
You have my permission to carry yourself like a mic.
Is it a good thing? Great.
I think so.
Okay. I'm trying to think. Trying to think of good mics, bad
There's
mics.
a lot of good mics. I mean, it's not the most original name, but I'm in good company.
That's very true. I can find a lot of good mics, but I can probably find a lot of bad mics as well. So let's just move on. All right. Mike Triplett, of course, is with us from New Orleans.football. Okay, Mike, season came to an end with a thud on Sunday. Is there anything from that game that you would like to rehash in any way that you think is worthy of conversation?
No, I mean, anybody who was anti-Dennis Allen or anti-Andy Dalton has their Exhibit A now. I'd like to dismiss it as they didn't care because it was Week 18, but this team felt like it was trying very hard over the last month to string some wins together and hold their head high, and that was their worst loss and definitely worst offensive performance of the season to date. So if you lacked confidence in Dennis Allen or Pete Carmichael or Andy Dalton or the offense in general, then that, hopefully you had tuned them out before Week 18 and didn't see it.
I mean, look, 19 points a game speaks for itself. They were atrocious. Look, they were a bad passing offense a year ago, but I think we can explain a lot of that because of a lot of the personnel issues that I don't think is as easily explainable now. Mike, what changes need to happen on this offense?
I mean, it's got to be pretty radical. It needs to be a different approach and probably a different quarterback unless Andy Dalton is being paired with, a draft pick who isn't guaranteed to start right away, or they're trading for a young project or something along those lines. It's funny enough, what they've been lacking is any sort of firepower. I actually think you could make a strong argument that they should have tried or should now try Jameis Winston out, but I think that ship has definitely sailed. I think mutually they probably will want to go separate ways. I can't imagine he's in the conversation to turn back to after they never turned back to him during this season, and especially how much he's going to cost next year. So I have a feeling they're moving on. We're waiting to find out if they're considering replacing, firing, or moving Pete Carmichael to another role and hiring a new offensive coordinator or bringing in a different voice, like LSU did with Joe Brady, whatever title that has to be. They need a new idea, a new approach, and a new quarterback to run it. And, it's just grown really, really stale. Now, they do have the pieces on the offensive line. They do have Alvin Kamara. They do have Chris Olave and Rashid Shaheed. So they have pieces to work with, but they can't be this offense that is just relying on 15-play drives that will be stymied by any third and long or any penalty or any fumble.
Dennis Allen was asked about staff changes, and he was sort of dismissive. Do you feel like they are? I
don't think he was. Yeah, I don't think he was dismissive to the idea. I think he just said, "Now is not the time to give you the answer to that question. We're not going to rush that decision." But that they're having that discussion this week. They've had that discussion this week, and they might already know what they're going to do. But he was not dismissive to the idea of, no, of course we're not. He didn't give an answer like that. He said, we don't have that answer for you Monday at 11. We are just starting our conversations, and we will be having those types of conversations this week.
Okay, that's fair. What sort of time frame is realistic to expect if there are changes to be made there?
Yeah, I mean, it has to happen fairly soon because they're about to be in a heated competition with a lot of other people for offensive coordinators. There's already 3 or 4 other teams in the NFL that have fired their offensive coordinators and will be looking, and then there will be 5 or 6, or, possibly more new head coaches who are assembling staff soon. Now, that doesn't mean you have to be first. Maybe the right answer will be somebody from a fired staff who is out there looking for work. But everybody is going to be assembling their staffs by the end of January, early February, and you can't wait till after all the other staffs are set before you decide the direction you're going.
Yeah. He's on Twitter at Mike Triplett, NewOrleans.football, NewOrleans.football. Of course, our chats with Mike all year long have been brought to you by Benny's Car Wash. Go to Benny'sCarWash.com. Join the membership club. One of the best things I did, like $15 a month, unlimited car washes. What quarterback options do exist for New Orleans?
Everything should be on the table, Matt. And I mean, I did a story on it. It probably was about 1,500 words long, with half of it just being names. None of them are the obvious choice. I mean, the biggest you could aim for is probably Lamar Jackson, who would probably cost at least 2 first-round picks and at least $40+ million a year. But he might be available. Tom Brady in free agency might be available. You could trade for Derek Carr if you wanted to. I think he'll cost more than he's probably worth when you add the draft picks and the money together. Or you could, aggressively try to get in the Chicago Bears here and say, that's one at number one. Instead, that's Justin Fields for a couple first-round picks. Or you could see if the Green Bay Packers want to move on from Jordan Love, or the New England Patriots want to move on from Mac Jones if you want a younger guy with upside. Or it's, get as high as you can in the draft and hope you get some Sean Payton picks this year. Or it's, who's left out of the game of musical chairs this year that you're willing to take a chance on. It's funny, 2 of the guys I mentioned that I was somewhat intrigued by 3 or 4 weeks ago were Gardner Minshew and Sam Darnold. And after the up-close and personal look they got at Gardner Minshew in Week 17 and Sam Darnold Week 18, those are much less attractive options than they were before. But they got to look at every one of these guys and a lot more.
Is Andy Dalton an option?
Yeah, I think Andy Dalton is an option to be part of the quarterback room. He is obviously either a one-year bridge to a very clear plan to stockpile draft picks for 2024, or a bridge for a young guy that you hopefully bring into the building this year. I would not be enthusiastic about Andy Dalton being that's our guy, no questions asked guy. He's competent enough to be a bridge, or a very good backup and a mentor to a young guy. I put him in sort of the same category as a Teddy Bridgewater. I wouldn't be excited that either one of those means I'm set.
Man, it's such an important offseason that the Saints are facing, and it just doesn't seem that there's any obvious, clear, easy paths. Mike Triplett's with us. The one thing that does seem pretty obvious is Sean Payton's going to coach again, and it's not going to be in New Orleans. So any lean, Mike, on what may happen there with Payton?
Yeah, I think it's encouraging for the Saints that he's taking some of these interviews, that he has agreed to interviews with the Broncos and the Cardinals and the Texans, reportedly. And it doesn't seem like Carolina is in the picture, but they've at least inquired about him. I know he would love to see the Chargers enter the picture. I don't know if there's wildcard teams like the Rams, the Cowboys, the Dolphins, the Seahawks. I mean, could coaches be fired, surprisingly retired? But I think it's encouraging that he's taking the interviews and he's considering it, and not just holding out and waiting for like 1 or 2 special jobs and being like, hey, I can wait till 2024 or 2025. It sure feels like he's ready, but all of those coaching jobs have warts. If I was his advisor, I would probably tell him, try to be as patient as you can, because these all feel like B- jobs at best. I don't see any A's and B+ yet in the mix, and there's some really intriguing jobs that could be a year away from opening. But if he's got that fever and he's interested enough in talking himself into Kyler Murray or Russell Wilson, the market is very active, and it seems like these teams are willing to give the Saints what they want. Otherwise, these interviews wouldn't even be lined up yet.
I'm not trying to push back, but Mike, are there ever coaching jobs that don't come with warts?
Yeah,
I mean, if the coaches.
Yeah, I think it's the coaching jobs that you really want are. I think the 2 that would be better than what they have right now are if you get the team, like if the Chargers did fire Brandon Staley because they finish 9-7 and miss the playoffs, or if they lose in the first round and they're just like, we need somebody to take us to the next level, and we have Justin Herbert, we have a team we think can win. Or if the Cowboys did that with Mike McCarthy, but they have Dak Prescott and Micah Parsons, CeeDee Lamb, those would be more attractive. And then obviously there's like the job that Jacksonville had with Trevor Lawrence, or the young guy. That would be more attractive. Or the team like the Jets. I think if they're a year away from finding their coach, they have everything but quarterback, but they have the cap space, and that would be a more attractive job. I think if any of those had come available this year, they would have leapt to the front of the line.
He's on Twitter at Mike Triplett. Running back, that's one other thing I wanted to ask you about offensively. It almost feels like, Mike, they're at a point where they've got to address that position alongside Alvin Kamara. Is that something as simple as saying you just got to draft one this year?
Well, I think drafting is best because you want the guy to be young. You want him to not only be able to play alongside Kamara now, you want him to be able to replace Kamara in the very near future. Heading into year 7 now, and his contract makes it so he's almost certainly not going to be playing into this contract for much longer after another year or two. But that's easier said than done. I think they need it back, and I think they need to really reshore this defensive line with young talent. And they don't have a pick until the second round right now. That'd be another reason why it'd be great to get some of those Payton picks. I think those are the 3 positions I'd want to address most in the draft. But with running back, it's a little harder to say we're definitely going to do it. Like, what if they use the 40th pick on a running back? Is that more of a luxury? I don't know.
Yeah. Are the Saints going to be on Hard Knocks?
Over their dead body.
But they don't necessarily have a say, right? I mean, if they get picked, they got to do it.
As far as I know, there has never been a team forced into it. Somebody has always either volunteered or agreed. So hopefully, there's only 4 teams that meet the criteria, unless another team kind of wants the publicity or wants the spotlight, or so they would. And the other thing is, if the league gets to choose, there were a couple teams even on that list of 4 that might be more intriguing than the Saints this year. The Saints, as we've seen, obviously with their recent attendance in the last couple of games, the Saints don't exactly have a bright shining star right
now. Stinks. All right, we'll be following along. New Orleans.
Wait, but look, hold on. I'm going to leave you with hope. I don't want to leave you with a sigh and we're here. We're in the offseason. We're tired. We're done with the, is it going to get better? Who are we mad at? Who screwed up? Whose fault is it? Now it is all about what draft picks are we going to get? Who's the next quarterback going to be? Who are they going to draft? These are exciting things. This is a team this is one of those teams that the offseason is more exciting than the season. So be excited about these next 6 months. I'm excited to see what happens.
Unless if they screw it all up, which is entirely possible, given the current state the franchise is in. And you still got a stinky head coach who is never going to win. There, well, I just threw a wet blanket on your optimism. I'm sorry.
That was one of the wettest blankets I've ever felt.
That blanket came
gross.
Blanket came straight out of the pool and just went right on the fire.
Why didn't you throw this in the dryer? You were supposed to throw this in the dryer.
Or you at least could have wrung it out first.
I just didn't turn it on.
That's what happened. All right, Mike Triplett, we appreciate it as always, man. Great season chatting with you, and we always do appreciate it.
All right, thanks a lot, man.
All right, be well. That's Mike Triplett, again on Twitter at Mike Triplett. Our Convos with Mike are brought to you by Benny's Car Wash. You can get to Benny's Car Wash or Benny'sCarWash.com. You can hit the little green tab right there at the top, which says Wash Club Memberships. And really easy, man. I took my own advice. It's like $15, and you get unlimited washes for the month. It's crazy. You can wash every day if you want. You can wash up to 2 times a day if you want. I mean, I wouldn't do that, but you can. It's Benny's Car Wash. Benny'sCarWash.com. Okay. Appreciate Mike Triplett. We told you earlier today, LSU Jack linebacker, outside linebacker, Xavier Carter entered the transfer portal. I think now we know why. The Tigers have added a Jack linebacker. We'll tell you about him when we return on AFR.
AFR.
Brought to you by Pluckers, Nicholson, and Bluebonnet Dining, Carryout, or Delivery. 28 flavors. I had a brain fart there. Of award-winning jumbo chicken wings. Ice cold draft beer, full-service bar, sports on TV. But tonight, Thursday, is all about the boneless buffalo bites. Pay one low price, and on Thursdays you can have as many boneless buffalo bites as you want. These are bite-sized chicken breasts, breaded, fried, tossed in your favorite wing sauce, and you can eat as many of them as you want all night on Thursday for one low price at Pluckers. Nicholson, just south of campus. Bluebonnet right in front of the Mall of Louisiana. NBA slate tonight. Colucci's coming up, so you want to track your hockey bets. You can do it at Pluckers as well. Get on by for wildcard weekend, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. Best place to eat wings, drink beer, and watch sports on TV is at Pluckers, where if you don't like our wings, we'll give you the bird.
Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram has $10,000 off MSRP on all new 2022 Black Widow Jeep Gladiators in stock. All new Bayou vehicles come with a 1 million mile powertrain warranty and free delivery. If you need sales or service, the crew at Bayou is going to do right by you.
Follow us on Twitter at 1045ESPN to cast your vote in the Citizens Bank and Trust Poll of the Day. Vote daily inside off the bench, anytime. Hunt Palmer. And after further review, Citizens Bank and Trust brings you the Poll of the Day via Twitter at 1045ESPN.
This is a house call. This is a follow-up appointment. This is a diabetes checkup. This isn't just more convenient care, it's more advanced care. This is innovating healthcare at Louisiana's #1 hospital, Auctioner.
Eli's always been into grilling. It took us a while to see it, but the signs were there.
What are you doing, Eli?
I knew grilling was my thing. I have been talking about it throughout my career.
Happy with the results?
I am. Got the new grill from barbecueguys.com. It performed great.
My advice, as I always told my boys,
do more of what you're born to do.
Barbecue Guys, for those who were born to grill.
You want cheese on your burger, Pops?
I'll take a little cheese.
Time doesn't stop, and the world keeps spinning. Community, culture, and communications, the powerful circle that connects us together. We're creating the next evolution, a network built for every possibility, moving faster than ever before, streaming us forward into the future. And the revolution is closer than you think. RTC, ETEL, and Vision are now Rev. New name, same company.
Have you ever heard the tale of the misunderstood bull? A menacing beast that was born to float. A force of nature. The embodiment of grace. Quite grand, yet quiet and nimble. The Infiniti QX80.
Experience the Infiniti QX80 at your local Infiniti retailer.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving.
After further review with Matt Moscona, ESPN Baton Rouge, New Orleans, Alexandria.
We opened the show talking about LSU Jack linebacker Xavier Carter entering the transfer portal. And went through a lot of the sort of particulars there. And part of it, I guess, makes sense, right? And it's disappointing that you lose B.J. Ojulari to the draft, which you knew. That's not the disappointing part. You knew he was going. But Desmond Little was a Jack linebacker who went into the portal, and now Xavier Carter as well. Of course, you signed Braden Swinson, who's an edge from Oregon, 3-year player there, 6'4", 233. Played a lot of football, so he's sort of a plug-and-play at that Jack linebacker spot. And, you know, you in this signing class, you got 5-star Deshaun Womack, who can play that spot for you, as can Jackson Howard, the 6'4", 243-pound freshman out of Minnesota. So, you know, you've you've got a couple of freshmen coming in that could fit, and give you some reps and depth there. And then Braden Swinson, the Oregon transfer. But you've lost a lot of your veteran experience there. You could always move Harold Perkins back to Jack, and Matt House could get creative because he's just been really good at doing that. And we talked a little bit about, of course, it hurts your depth. You lose Ojulari and Little and Carter. And so maybe Matt House could get creative with guys like Quincy Wiggins or Savion Jones. And as we opened the show, we talked about, well, they could always also, of course, go back to the portal and add another body if they need to. And perhaps the reason Xavier Carter hit the portal, we now know, is because LSU has added a player via the portal. Ovi Oguofu, who will be a super senior, is going to play his final season of college football for LSU. By the way, they have the pronunciation here. It's, let's see, you want to listen to it? Let's see.
Ovi Oguofu.
There it is. I love, this is super handy.
Do it one more time.
Ovi Oguofu.
Ovi
Oguofu. Shout out to Texas for having the pronunciation, not only the guide, the phonetic spelling, but also the button where you can.
Ovi Oguofu.
Now
that should be mandatory, I feel like.
I agree. Ovi Oguofu. It's spelled Oghofo. Ogi Oguofu.
Ovi Oguofu.
Easy enough. So Ovi Oguofu is a super senior who's going to finish his college career at LSU. 6'3", 239. Here's a little bit about his journey, okay? So he's from Michigan. He signed with, wait for it, Notre Dame in the class of 2018. Redshirted in 2018. Played in 2019 and in 2020. So he played 20 games during his Notre Dame career. Remember, of course, 2020 was the COVID season that was shortened. But played in 20 games in those 2 seasons at Notre Dame. After the COVID year, he transferred to Texas. A year ago, in 2012, he was honorable All Big 12 Newcomer of the Year. Played in 12 games, started 8 at that edge rush spot, 42 tackles, 5.5 for loss, 2 sacks. So was a very productive player as a fourth-year guy transferring into Texas a year ago. This season in 2022, played in 13 games, started 12 of them, had 54 tackles, 8.5 tackles for loss, 2.5 sacks. Let me compare that, if I could, to the year that B.J. Ojulari just had. Ojulari had 58 tackles to 54 for Oguofu. Each had 8.5 tackles for loss. Oguofu had 2.5 sacks. Ojulari had 5.5 sacks. So, now grant you, B.J. Ojulari played in 11 games. Oguofu played in 13 with 12 starts. So he did play in a couple more games, but the production was similar. You're talking about a guy that knows Brian Kelly very well, committed to him at Notre Dame and played for him in 18, 19, and 20. So 3 seasons in South Bend with Brian Kelly. There's a familiarity there with the player, his skill set, and then with the coaching staff. So you bring in another guy who has some ties there to Notre Dame and has played major college football as well at Notre Dame, Texas, and LSU. Worth mentioning, of course, as well, that even though he's already transferred once, because he is a graduate, he could transfer and be immediately eligible for his one remaining season with no waiver required. So this is the benefit of the portal. And you can lament the direction of college football. You can say that you hate the portal and how guys can leave whenever they want. Or the bottom line is, it's good for the player because it gives the player options. And if you're a fan of your team, what you really want is for your team to be good. And this is just another tool in the toolbox for coaches to build their roster. You're not gonna run your program on the portal, but in a situation like this where your jack linebacker is going pro and might be a first-round pick, and 2 guys that were there to provide depth, and Desmond Little and Xavier Carter have now hit the portal, well, you've turned around and added Braden Swinson and Oguofu. So if I were to ask you, of course, Ojulari leaving, and I gave you the option, would you rather Braden Swinson, who's played for 3 years at Oregon, and Oguofu, who's going to be a 6th-year player who committed to Brian Kelly, 3 years at Notre Dame, 2 years at Texas, and has been a productive player at that position, Would you rather those two guys or Desmond Little, Xavier Carter? Young guys who haven't played very much. Give me the two veteran guys, of course. So you've actually improved your roster at that spot. Now, again, you'd have loved to have B.J. Ojulari back. He's the best of all those guys. I'm not saying that, but you knew Ojulari was going pro. So look at how you've upgraded the jack position from Little and Carter to Swinson and Ogofu immediately with veteran guys who now give you a rotation at that spot instead of, well, B.J. Ojulari is our jack, and then after that it's Harold Perkins, who we don't want to play him at that position because then we got to bring B.J. off the field, or we got to get creative with how we get them both on the field just so they can be on the field at the same time. Now it's, okay, no, now you got two really experienced jack linebackers and you have a rotation. And Harold Perkins can be on the field and play inside backer, which he's going to do anyway. And then you can get really creative with how you use him. So, look, when you saw the news about Xavier Carter going into the portal, it was pretty obvious that LSU was going to have to add another body. Was it going to be a freshman? Was it going to be a transfer? Clearly, LSU already had their target set on Ovi Ogofu, and he gives you an immediate upgrade as far as depth and rotation than what you would have had. And a guy that's familiar with Brian Kelly, and he and Kelly familiar with him. So Ovi Ogofu becomes the latest transfer that LSU has added via the portal. And Tigers have a consensus top 5 portal class. They've been they haven't quite been as active as a year ago where they had to add 19 guys, 15 of them at the mid-year. But they've certainly supplemented on that defensive line where they needed to go add bodies, and they've done it. Okay, it's After Further Review brought to you by Shawbills Tire and Auto Service, ShawBillsTire.com. Bumper-to-bumper auto service, name brand tires at wholesale prices. You know where to find them. They're at ShawBillsTire.com. Listen, every vehicle, if you're going to drive it, got to have tires. And eventually those tires get threadbare. If that tread's low on the tires and it's time to buy new ones, you want the best tires possible, right? The best. You don't want to buy cheap, imitation, knockoff tires. You want name brand tires. You want Michelin, Firestone, Bridgestone, BF Goodrich. If you got to buy them, go to the place that's going to sell them to you cheaper than anyone. Go to Shawbills, ShawBillsTire.com. You can go to the website, hit that promotions tab, and you'll see all the promotions that they offer at Shawbills, where you can save money to get the best tires on the road at the cheapest price possible. It's at Shawbills. ShawBillsTire.com. Shawbills, where we keep you rolling. All right, y'all, it's been a really good show. Appreciate everybody for being here. As always, if you missed anything, AFR On Demand presented by Brett Golf. Hour 1, we had Adam Hill talk from Las Vegas Review-Journal, talking a little bit with us about Derek Carr and the possibility of him landing in New Orleans. Paul Nolan of freewinners.net last hour. He likes Baltimore in the points. But you can, of course, get the full weekend for free over at freewinners.net. If you text 313, get info. Text the word free to 313, get info. You just heard Mike Triplett here as well. So everything AFR On Demand is there for you if you missed any of the show. Final break of the show. When we come back, Otter locks. How about the Otter? A 5-0 night in college basketball last night for the Otter. A 5-0 night last night in college basketball for the Otter. Thank you. And what does he do for? What does he do for an encore? And Colucci as well tonight. All right. Otter Locks is next.
AFR.
All right, before we get to the Otter, let me remind you about River City's 1 Hour Air, where they're always on time or you don't pay a dime. 752-0001, 752-0001. Look for the big yellow vans and trucks with the giant clock on the side. No matter what road in Baton Rouge you might be traversing today or in the capital city, capital area, you're sure to see vans and trucks from River City's 1 Hour Air, because so many of your friends, your relatives, your neighbors do what I do. They trust River City's 1 Hour Air. I tell you all the time, they're always on time or you don't pay a dime. Set a time to be at your house. If they're 1 minute late, you don't come out of pocket 1 cent. That's their promise. They're going to save you time. They're going to save you money. You can mention the Moscona special. They'll save you $25 on any system repair just for mentioning you listen to the show. But at River City's 1 Hour Air, it's so much more about customer service as well, making you feel comfortable with the work done at a fair price and who is coming into your home. It's River City's 1 Hour Air. You can trust them. Read the Google reviews. 752-0001, where they're always on time or you don't pay a dime.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime during this challenging event. And we're right there with you. Our mobile banking app is a smart way to manage your money and time. Gulf Coast Bank and Trust, the bank that cares about you.
ServiceMaster Elite create clean, disinfected work environments. As a local business, we take pride in serving the New Orleans and Baton Rouge areas. Our cleaning protocols follow CDC and OSHA standards for healthcare settings, offices, senior living, restaurants, and industrial plants. Contact ServiceMaster Elite to get your operation ready for reopening with germ disinfection cleaning. ServiceMaster Elite, the trusted choice in professional cleaning since 1996.
At Auctioner, we know healing is a team sport. That's why we've partnered with world-renowned orthopedic surgeon Dr. James Andrews to create the Auctioner Andrews Orthopedics and Sports Medicine Institute. Whether you're a professional athlete or a weekend warrior, our team of specialists are dedicated to getting you back in the game. So whatever your reasons are for reaching your personal best, we've only got one: you. Auctioner Andrews Institute. Long live you.
Eli's always been into grilling. It took us a while to see it, but the signs were there.
What are you doing, Eli?
I knew grilling was my thing. I have been talking about it throughout my career.
Happy with the results?
I am. Got the new grill from barbecueguys.com. It performed great.
My advice, as I always told my boys,
do more of what you were born to do.
Barbecue Guys, for those who were born to grill.
You want cheese on your burger, Pops?
I'll take a little cheese.
All right, let's say ah. Where'd my spotlight go? Super weird.
After further review with Matt Moscona, ESPN Baton Rouge, New Orleans, Alexandria.
Down the stretch we come, final segment here on a Thursday edition of AFR. One thing left to do. Let's find out what we're betting on tonight. It's time for Otter Locks.
Otter Locks, presented by Lofton Staffing Services. At Lofton, we put people to work. Call us today at 924-0200 or go to lofton.jobs.
So we turn to the one and only, the incomparable and often incomprehensible, the Ottfather himself, Jimmy. Otter, how are you?
Doing fantastic, Matt. How about you?
Man, I'm doing awesome. After a 5-0 night last night, you had to be just absolutely sky high. Give him 5 dings. Give him 5 dings. Give him 3 more. Give him 2 more. Give him another one. All right, 5-0 for the Otter. It pays to listen to the Ottfather. All right, man. Great night. Yeah, congrats.
Wes Reynolds came on at 6:30 and gave out Louisville and TCU, 2 more winners.
Ooh, 7 of them.
The show was 7-0 last night, so we were pretty happy. It's hard to do.
Well, 7-0 last night, a really good NFL season. You're still making up for taking off that time to San Diego, where you just absolutely annihilated all of our winnings.
Man, you need to that. I know it was bad, but there ain't no way.
Yeah, it was bad. Oh, it was bad. I think you're on like a 12-day losing streak, and then we just cut you off. We're like, get him out. We're just go and watch the ponies. When you settle back in, we'll resume.
You didn't like the announce when there's the bugle players in the background. You didn't like all that. Remember the server? Was,
how can I forget the server? You see her she's cursing live on the air.
Yeah, they need to polish them up in Del Mar. You know, they're a little rough around the edges. So. Colucci's in. You ready?
Let's do it.
He is bouncing back from last week as well. We've been doing this, I don't know, 2.5 years. It was his worst night last Thursday night. So he's got his pride on the line. I like it. He's got Dallas in the money line, plus 110, 112 at the Rangers. That's a 6 o'clock puck drop. Getting better in my terminology, huh?
Yeah, for sure. The puck drop. I love it. All right, Dallas.
Yeah. And then Carolina on the puck line. So they're 315 on the money line. So the puck line, DraftKings has the best number, like low 120.
Yeah, I'm looking puck line minus 125. Yep.
So there you go. So the college hoops tonight. I
1 minute remaining.
Really, I don't know if we got anything for tonight.
We'll take Colucci, and I'm sure Colucci will be with you at 6:30 and giving a few more late night picks.
Yes, he will.
All right.
So,
all right, Otter. A great night. Look, 7-0. Take the night off, man. That's quite all right. We'll roll with Colucci tonight. We'll win. Whoa, Colucci tonight! All right. I would assume Jolie Pearl.
Jolie Pearl, I'm looking at Gordy Rush over here right now.
Oh, no. All right. Game time with Jimmy Ott follows us in Baton Rouge and online at 1045ESPN.com. Thank you, Otter. Have a great show.
Moranto on the money line.
Moranto. Get out of here. Muse, Paulie, thanks. Y'all have a great night. We'll see you tomorrow at 3.
AFR.
Bayou Ford has $10,000 off MSRP on a new 2022 Ford F-150, plus no payments for 90 days and 2.9% APR for 72 months. All new Bayou vehicles come with a 1 million mile powertrain warranty. If you need sales or service, the crew at Bayou Ford is going to do right by you.
This is a house call. This is a follow-up appointment. This is a diabetes checkup. This isn't just more convenient care, it's more advanced care. This is innovating healthcare at Louisiana's #1 hospital, Ochsner.
Louisiana. It's a place defined by culture, by pride, by passion, by people who do more than love this place. They celebrate it, elevate it, champion it. They are the individuals who embody what makes Louisiana great. The companies that make Louisiana a better place to work and live. The nonprofits leading transformational change in our communities. Champions of Louisiana are all around us, and LWCC is proud to celebrate them because we've always been Louisiana loyal, supporting the workers, the innovators, the change agents of this great place we call home. Who are the champions around you? Together, we can share their stories. Together, we can help our home state thrive. Together, we are Louisiana loyal. Always.
Time doesn't stop, and the world keeps spinning. Community, culture, and communications, the powerful circle that connects us together. We're creating the next evolution, a network built for every possibility, moving faster than ever before, streaming us forward into the future. And the revolution is closer than you think. RTC, ATEL, and Vision are now Rev. New name, same company.
You ever heard the tale of the misunderstood bull? A menacing beast who was born to float. A force of nature. The embodiment of grace. Quite grand, yet quiet and nimble. Infinity QX80.
Experience the Infinity QX80 at your local Infinity retailer.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Service Master Elite create clean, disinfected work